Okay, hopefully this doesn't mess up because it was like lagging or glitching or something. Please, if this doesn't work, then I'll probably just like play Subnautica and then, you know what I'm saying, fuck it. All right, let's see if this works. Okay, I played the video and let's
Hailing from a tiny Utah town called Short
hopefully
Creek
that works.
was a cult, the Fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints.
Chat, I think it might work. I think it works.
FLDS for short. Most recently run under the grasp of a man named Warren Jeffs, they operated completely under the radar for the better part of the past century.
Okay.
For years, Jeffs and his predecessors maintained strict control over their members, preaching the central idea that plural marriages were not only a God-given right, but were the only way for members to access.
See,
the
that's why I
kingdom of
hate
heaven.
this weird shit. That
He
weird
was known
shit.
to call himself the prophet, the only member of the church who could
Hold on,
talk
let me
to
make my
God.
room darker.
And if God told him that you should marry someone, you wouldn't go against his will, would you?
Bro, I'm telling you.
After wife after wife, the prophet would arrange to wed.
Oh, he
not
isn't
only
no
for the
fucking
adult
prophet.
men inside the church, but most prominently for himself. Tens, hundreds of women were used as pawns,
Dude.
tickets that they believed would grant them eternal salvation. And as you'd expect, their ages were never considered.
Oh my God.
Inside the FLDS, hundreds of children were born through underage mothers, forced into arranged marriages with men upwards
Bro, what the fuck? Nobody fucking called the law?
of 85 years of age, and all of them wholeheartedly believed that they were carrying out
Hell nah,
the
chat.
will of God.
What the fuck? Hold up, chat. Hold up. I'm just like,
Going back to Minecraft,
God
you are right with the
damn.
dedicated server from hosting.
God.
Claim com-
Okay, let's get into it. Shout out next one. Oh shit, wait. All right, let's get into it. Hell no, but that's weird as fuck though, bro. What the fuck is wrong with these fucking bots, bro?
The story of the FLDS is one of the darkest I know, and they, too, have troves of media both destroyed and sealed away. We will be diving into the full story of the FLDS very soon. However, they're not fully the reason we're here tonight.
What's up? What's up? What's happening? Is somebody else? Somebody worse? You telling me there's somebody worse than fucking that guy? Oh hell nah, chat. Fuck no, chat. Okay.
In 2008, a game show premiered on Fox called The Moment of Truth. It involved contestants answering highly controversial and often abrasive questions in front of a live studio audience in exchange for an ever-growing grand prize.
Okay.
Prior to each episode,
Bro.
contestants would
There's so many fucking game shows, bro. Like these, like that have like tragic like accidents or like backstories or like, bro, what the fuck, bro? They got a track hop outside my house. Like, there was this one thing. I think Nexpo covered it, or I think his name was Crowley. Covered it, where it was like a stunt, and this guy like tried to jump over a car, and then he got like ran over or some shit like that. I'm just like, dude, there's so many fucking. And there was this other one where, like it was like a dating game show, and there was this gay guy who liked the guy who was straight, and then once he found out, or like once he told him the truth, like he was like, yo, and then the next day or some shit, he got like, he killed him. I'm just like, bro, what the fuck? Like, okay, what the fuck are these game shows about? And like, and there was this one time where one of the game shows put like they like one of the contestants was a fucking serial killer, bro. Like, bro, these game shows are cooked, bro. I'm glad it's gone, bro.
take a polygraph test to ensure the accuracy of their
Bro, because that shit is
responses
cooked.
on stage.
That shit is
I'm
cooked.
sure you can see how this could go down.
So many fucking game shows that are like cooked.
Highly personal, highly secret question correctly in front of the world, and the bag of cash dangling over your head grows ever more. Answer it wrong, however, and your affairs are exposed.
Oh, I think I heard about. I think I watched this, or like I heard about it.
History. In August of 2010, a contestant named Melanie Williams took the stage for the show's 9th episode of its second
Melanie
season.
Williams, all right.
Unlike those that competed before her, however, Melanie carried with her a dark, disturbing past.
Oh hell no. What'd you do, bro?
Yeah.
While living in a polygamous community, did you know of any underage girls who were married to adult men?
Yo.
Yeah.
That answer is true.
But nothing could stop her dramatic climb to the top.
Who the fuck is that?
As it turns out, Melanie Williams grew up inside the FLDS and witnessed firsthand the atrocities committed against the women and children within. To this day, Season 2, Episode 9, her debut, is completely scrubbed from existence, leaving us with only an archived trailer hinting at the inner details she revealed.
Damn.
Interestingly, even though Episode 9 is considered lost, Melanie actually returned for Episode 10, one that has been found in full. Within it, she takes the stage for a final $500,000 question, the grand prize of this show, and something no contestant before her
Is she
has
gonna
ever
answer it?
been able to win. In
Oh,
the
but she
beginning,
wins it.
Host Mark Wahlberg warns her of what she's about to be faced with,
Oh, fuck
giving
no.
her an opportunity to opt out. However, after reading it and taking a moment to really let it sink in, she decides apprehensively
To say it.
that she's gonna do it.
I'm gonna do
Who?
it for my dad. I'm gonna go for it.
I mean, but like. Oh shit. What is the question? Oh motherfucker.
Are you okay?
It's a tough question, excuse me. But it's a tough question for me. It's a tough question.
What is it?
But I can do it.
Tearful and aware of what she's about to
Hell
reveal,
nah, bro.
her father questions what could possibly be causing a reaction like this.
Oh damn, that's his
She
our father.
has, up to this point, aired out so much already. How much more really is there?
Okay. For $500,000,
Bro, I'd be fucking nervous as a dad, bro.
Melanie Williams
Hold up, chat. Hold up, chat. I just realized this shit was private as fuck. Give me 1 second, chat. All right. Anyways, okay. Now we're back. Okay, we're here. All right.
Question 21. Do you believe your father, as an adult, has ever had sexual relations with a minor?
Oh my God. Dude, what the fuck? Don't say yes.
Yes.
Oh my God. What in the...
That answer is true.
Bro. Oh my fucking God. You guys are fucking sick motherfuckers. And no, everybody's sick. The host is sick. She's sick. Everybody's cooked.
The audience
Damn.
erupts as Melanie sits, shocked.
Because
at what she
the
just
people viewing
conveyed
this shit
to
is
the world.
sick and clapping.
Her father, equally stunned. And it all culminates in one of the strangest, most dystopian moments that I have ever
Dystopian?
seen.
Yeah, more like Black Mirror.
broadcast
Black
television.
Mirror is dystopian, but yeah. But it's literally
As the
fucking Black
family
Mirror.
embraces, Wahlberg questions her father about this illegal relationship, to which he completely downplays it.
All the time.
Part of that culture.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Let's hear what
Yeah.
John has feels of that.
Gosh. I'm not sure when I did this I knew what a minor was. That was a long time ago.
Okay.
What the
Wife
hell?
number 2 was 17. She had just gotten out of high school.
Bro. Out of high school, you're cooked, buddy. It was so wait, so that girl was part of that cult or something?
In January,
Yeah, I'm
of
geeking, bro. I'm
2011,
sorry.
Over 4 months after this episode aired, Melanie Williams took to her personal blog to clear up any speculation about her time on the show. Within a post made on January 7th, she claims that her father had actually lied that night. That the girl
What?
wasn't 17 like he claimed.
No.
In reality, she was 14. And her name
What the fuck? Okay.
was Joy.
Man, what the hell, dude?
As far as it's known, her father has neither been investigated nor charged since this aired, and there's been no further updates from Melanie herself. Even so, this broadcast is one of the strangest that I have ever watched, and I wouldn't be surprised if it contributed to the Moment of Truth's cancellation.
Yeah, that
Regardless
show,
of whether
man,
season
fuck
2,
that show.
Episode 9 is ever found, Melanie Williams successfully exposed the illegal atrocities committed by one of the world's darkest cults in front of thousands. A cult that has done everything in its power to keep its depraved history a
Are you gonna talk
secret.
about the cult, or are we
And
just
a
gonna?
cult, the FLDS,
FL
who manipulated and
FLDS.
abused women and children for over a century, all veiled under the will of God.
Man, bro, don't involve God to this, bro. You guys are just fucking weird as shit, bro. Like, I hate that shit.
We'll return after these messages.
Alright guys, before we continue,
Hey,
I'd
I'ma
like
let
to
it play.
tell you about tonight's video sponsor.
A sponsor? They might have sponsored you. Oh my fuck! Oh my fuck! Oh my fuck. Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second, chat. Give me 1 second, chat. Intermission. All right. Let's get right into it again. Let's go. Nah, what the fuck? Bruh, stop fucking... I hate this old-timey shit, bro. Stop. Ooh, wait. That's actually kind of good right there.
It's October 1999. Residents on the south end of Fort Worth, Texas, notice a certain smell lingering in the air.
Okay. What kind of
It's
smell?
repugnant,
Somebody shit?
nauseating, a pungent, pervasive odor of rot.
Dude.
The stench is inescapable, rapidly enveloping parks, homes, and businesses. Something in the area is festering, and it's carrying an inescapable wave of what can only be described as the smell of deteriorating flesh. Disgusted and worried, residents in the area contact authorities in the hopes that anyone can figure out what the hell is going on. This odor has come up so quickly. So where in the world is it coming from?
Okay, yeah, somebody committed a crime. That's all I know. Some weird shit. Bruh, stop playing this eerie shit, man. I hate this. This is like, ew. Like, I know they're talking about pudding pops, bro, but I hate, like, this, like, it's just like a fucking feeling. It gets me fucking sick. It's like a sick ass. They're talking about their meats, bro, but it's eerie to me. Oh my god.
Resting at the corner of Hemphill and West Fogg Street in Fort Worth, Texas, sits an abandoned building. A grocery store called the Mexia Supermarket. Known to have been owned by a
Mexia.
family from Laos, it served the surrounding neighborhood for years. But here, they were nowhere to be found. Their store is rotting. Their home vacant.
Oh.
And it's like they up and left.
Their
leaving
store,
only
okay.
remnants of their existence. A neighborhood suffering from an inescapable smell, and a grocery store that's
That
festering
stinks. Yeah, that, okay,
right
okay.
under its own weight.
I understand it. Yeah, that shit was just rotten as fucking, like, they just, like, abandoned it.
Inside, rotting deli and meat discolored as bacteria consumed it. Produce began to wither
Hell
in
no.
hazardous gas. Frozen goods and milk
Yeah, it's moldy.
exploded due to an uncontrolled fermentation inside them. And the air inside, unbreathable, as the oxygen was completely depleted. As you'd expect, The building, by the time it was found, was in a state of complete disrepair, as maggots, roaches, rats, and thousands of flies had nested within its crevices.
That's nasty. Who's recording it?
The scene? Unreal. And all of this was the product of a building left to decay for nearly 3 months.
Damn, nobody like noticed, like, or like they didn't care for 3 months, or like they didn't check up on people for 3 months. Damn, dude. What the fuck was that?
In the following days, the Fort Worth Health Department officially declared the site as a health hazard, sparking a massive cleanup operation. But as they assessed the building, they realized that it would prove far more complicated than initially imagined. Because of the live rodents, millions of insects, and the buildup of hazardous gas, demolishing or burning the building down wasn't possible, as everything within it would simply migrate to the neighboring homes. And so, instead, a crew was hired to clean it by hand.
Damn, bro, I hate to be
Hazmat
them.
Suits and oxygen tanks, they were tasked with bagging and removing the rotten food, disinfecting every surface inside, and fumigating the premises, all while navigating through the millions of insects surrounding them. Reportedly, the initial scene was so infested with flies that cleanup crews couldn't even see more than a few feet in front of them.
What?
The cleanup efforts took nearly a month to complete, and by December, the building stood completely empty, yet still carrying a lingering odor of rot. Years later, it was eventually bought out and rebranded as a store called Terry's. However, according to a review left on Google, nearly 14 years after Mexia, the place even still reportedly smelled.
Yo, should I go to Terry's, bro, and check it out?
All of the footage you've seen so far has been taken from a 2010 History Channel documentary called Life After People. And while it gives us an inside look at the conditions there, it's merely a small piece of this story. As it turns out, tons of news coverage was taken, showcasing both the interior and exterior of the building before the cleanup operation began. However, as of now, it stands completely inaccessible. According to an online user named The Hookup, the news coverage of Mexia depicted a scene so repulsive that the windows appeared blackened due to the millions of roaches and flies covering
What the fuck, man?
I did have dreams about this one neighborhood in Fort Worth that was due to a news story at the time. A supermarket in this one low-income area of town just closed one day. The images on the news are what gave me bad dreams. Windows blackened by millions of roaches, rats in swarms. The smell had to be apocalyptic. 2-month-old fish, 2-month-old carrots, pork, thousands upon thousands of rat droppings.
Hell no.
I was obsessed with the story, hence why I dreamt about it, being in there. It's still
Dude, that
freaks me
shit.
out.
Oh, hell no. The smell. Damn. The smell must be cooked, bro. Fuck that shit. The smell must be
To
ludicrous.
this day, this 1 minute of video is the only known footage in existence depicting the absolute nightmare left behind inside Mexia Supermarket. And as we've seen, while evidence of other archives are out there, they have seemingly been buried in the void of broadcast history. With attention to it growing day by day, perhaps someday more footage about this will emerge. However, as of now, this is all we have. And it just might stay that way for years to come.
Hell no, bro. What the fuck, bro? Mexia, bro. Hey, chat. Remind me to go to Terry's, bro. Remind me to go to Terry's, and I'm gonna like just talk to them and interview them and everything like that. Hell no, bro. But the smell might cook me, bro. Like, might give me cancer or something. All right, can you stop playing the little distorted shit, please, bro? Ooh.
After waiting some considerable time to find a well-set-up gentleman, Megan was prepared to meet a man she could wind up spending the rest of her life with.
I'm nervous.
Okay. Yo, chat, I should go on The Bachelor
2009.
type shit, bro.
A reality show airs on VH1 starring a woman named Megan Hauserman.
Ooh,
It's
more
called
diamonds.
Megan Once a Millionaire, and it involves 18 suitors vying for her love by competing in challenges and trying to impress her with high-dollar dates. Out of every contestant on the show, a man named Ryan Jenkins had stood out to her. He was charming and witty, a trait so prevalent that the production team granted him the nickname Smooth Up.
Let me guess. He's a serial killer, scammer, diddler. Let me guess. Let's see what happens.
Operator. No, drama was, and still is, no stranger to reality TV, and Megan Once a Millionaire was no different. With such a bombastic cast of rich men vying for a woman by primarily flaunting their wealth, I'm sure you can see how this fell into the junk food category of shows out there.
Junk food?
No, that's all completely fine, and nothing about Megan Once a Millionaire was even that big of a deal. In fact, we wouldn't even be talking about this show today if it weren't for the fact that
Bruh, stop.
by the time this show was set to air its 4th episode, Ryan Jenkins' wife
Yeah.
was dead.
Wow. Very good. Oh no, that's not very good. Sorry. Weird ass motherfuckers. Chat, stop.
August 15th. Police are investigating a dumpster in Buena Park, California. Reportedly, a foul smell is emanating from it, yet it isn't the kind you'd expect. This isn't the smell of trash. It's not an animal. It's something else.
Bruh, what the fuck?
A few moments later, they dig out a densely packed suitcase. And upon opening it,
Let me guess. What the what? How do you get this image, Nexpo, bro? What the hell even is that?
staring skyward, is the mutilated, mangled body of a
Mutilated,
blonde female.
mangled.
Her teeth are gone.
What?
Her fingers severed. And her clothing.
Yeah, I'm gonna get demonetized.
Immediately, the police open a case. They realize that whoever did this went out of their way to sever any identifying feature from her body.
Whoa.
However, curiously, one still remained. You see, this woman had breast implants, and given that these carry their own serial numbers, it gave authorities a potential lead for identification.
What the hell? Breast implants have serial numbers in them? What the fuck?
Even still, however,
That's like a fucking like signature too. That could be like a goddamn signature. Like, yo, I did that. That's my barcode.
is unrecognizable,
What the fuck?
ultimately leaving three pivotal questions to linger. Who was this? Who did this? And how in the world did she end up here?
Hello? Hello? 12 hours later.
12 hours later, authorities receive a phone call. It's from Ryan Jenkins, and he's pleading. His wife, an LA model named Jasmine Fiore, had reportedly up and vanished. He claims that the previous night, the two arrived back at their home in Los Angeles before she left to run errands. However, since then, nothing. Over the next 48 hours, the breast implants were verified to belong to Jasmine Fiore, and as a result, her husband Ryan Jenkins had become a person of interest in her murder.
Yeah, good.
Yet, once they began looking into his movements over the few days prior, they realized that Jasmine Fiore, contrary to Ryan's testimony, had never arrived home.
What?
As it turns out, on the night of her death, the pair had gone to the LaBerge Hotel in Del Mar, California for a poker tournament. And on CCTV,
The
pair
parent?
can be seen arriving,
the pair.
getting settled in, and leaving. Oddly, however, at 4:30 in the morning on August 15th, just hours before Jasmine's body was uncovered, they discover a panicked Ryan Jenkins yet he's completely alone.
We got you, bro. We got you.
Jasmine, wherever they went, never returned with him. She was never seen alive again.
We got you on camera, bro. You fucked up now. Oh, shit.
Immediately, Jenkins becomes their lead suspect. However, tracking him down proved to be difficult. He went on the run, from their home in LA to Nevada, Nevada to Utah, Utah to Canada, and all of this was done in the span of just 2 days. Because of this, he was officially charged with the murder of Jasmine Fiore on August 20th.
Shit, so they're not even
Because
like...
he was evading arrest, he always seemed to be one step ahead.
They
wasn't until the morning.
They weren't like, yo, you're a witness or like you're under suspicion. They were like, all right, we know it's you now. We're gonna lock your ass up. So that's very good right there.
August 23rd, when authorities would locate him at a motel called Thunderbird in Hope, Canada. However, their encounter wouldn't go at all as planned. That morning, Ryan Jenkins...
Bro, but like, what the fuck? Okay, I want Nexpo to talk about that fucking cult, bro. Like more. Like I just remember they were talking about a cult. I want to like give me more. You know what I'm saying? Give me more lore. But it is what it is. Fuck it.
In fact, for the 3 days he was staying there, not a sound ever came from his room, and no one ever left.
Dude, what the fuck, man?
In reality,
oh my god,
he had taken his own life.
What the
And inside his room, he awaited, hanging from the motel coat rack.
What the heck, bro?
Search for a reality show contestant charged with the first-degree killing of his ex-wife is finally over. Ryan Jenkins was found dead in a motel room in Canada yesterday, an apparent suicide.
Okay, I know I'm pausing it too much, bro, but like this is why I kind of never fucked with or like watching news in the morning, because imagine you just like, you know what I'm saying, drinking your cup of joe, cup of coffee, and then you hear, yeah, now we solved the murder of this woman. He basically killed himself hanging on, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I'm just trying to eat my cup of coffee. Can I or like drink my cup of coffee? Like, can I please like get something different? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I don't watch like news in the morning, bro, because there's always some fucked up shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. All right. Enough yapping.
But officials say the investigation is far from over. Zuleika Nathu from the CBC.
Following his capture, VH1 had placed Megan Once a Millionaire on an indefinite hiatus, leaving episodes 4 to 6, the remainder of the season, never to air. After an internal investigation, it was found that Jenkins was charged with assault over 2 years prior to filming, something that should have restricted him from ever being allowed on TV.
He got charged with assault?
Even further, there were reportedly countless other contestants with charges as well, opening up the door to accusations that VH1 perhaps overlooked these in hopes of sowing drama and driving up ratings. For years, episodes 4 through 6 of Megan Once a Millionaire was unseen by anyone outside of the studio. However, in 2020, Megan herself released episodes 4 and 5 on her personal YouTube channel.
Whoa.
Even still, though, the finale eludes the public.
So, yeah, she must have known.
The that took place, it's unlikely to ever be released.
I mean, bro, she just released them. What are you talking about?
To this day, VH1 and the entire landscape of reality TV has felt the effects of this tragedy, yet nothing could ever compare to the grief the family of Jasmine Fiore underwent as they lost their loved one.
I'm about to die, dude.
Fiore's mother, their relationship was never healthy. They were always fighting, always arguing about something, but never did she think that Ryan Jenkins would take the life of her daughter. Never did she think that he would leave her in the condition he did.
Bro, weirdo.
Like a complete nightmare. Yet
yeah, man, she was like mutilated, man. That's
real.
What the heck is wrong with this guy, bro? What the fuck?
Megan Once a Millionaire, to this day, remains as an eerie look at the faces people put on for cameras. Yet once they're off and everyone inevitably returns home, we truly don't know any of them. Reality TV, they call it, even when it isn't reality at all.
Motherfucker. Oh my god. Tape 4. My friend Lois.
And last week's number 1 down to number 2. Underworld from
Alright, calm down. Yo, chat, you know what I've noticed? Or maybe, hold on. Damn, this guy's a tank. Nexpo uses more, I guess you could say, like liminal spaces after, or like, you know what I'm saying, like as footage type shit, like this. I feel like after he made that video about liminal spaces, that's what it's called, right? Or like backroom spaces, like, you know what I'm saying? And like since that video that he made, like I guess not scared, but like, you know what I'm saying, it activates something in me when I see shit like that.
And
like
the
this.
conversation is playing out between two online users, InXS00 and No1093.
No10. Oh, you're somebody, bro.
Charged. Inappropriate. A glance into the most depraved desires of the human psyche.
What the hell?
This correspondence carries on for days. However, there's just one problem.
Gotta go to work. Hello? Hello? Oh shit, hell.
Hey, what are you doing?
Nothing. What are you doing?
What the hell?
At the moment.
Okay.
What are you doing?
They're like gooning?
Nothing.
Did you go get your other money?
Yes, I did. Wait, did you leave yet?
No.
You didn't leave yet?
No.
Crazy ass
Are
motherfucker.
you gonna come or not?
Yes, I shall.
Well, when are you gonna come over?
Well, a little later.
Who recorded this
A
shit?
little later.
Yeah, is that all right?
Yeah, I guess. Gee.
You said what?
You're silly.
You're the silly one.
Okay. I mean, okay.
InXS00 in the real world is a 56-year-old man named Louis Conrad. And all throughout his chats and phone calls, he fully believes that he's conversing with a 13-year-old boy.
Ooh. So it's like a pred catcher?
November 11th, 2004. Dateline NBC airs a show that you just might have heard of. It's called To Catch a Predator, and
there you
in
go.
collaboration with police and a watchdog group named
Shout out
Promoted
Jadion.
Justice, they perform sting operations around the country, luring in and exposing predators on national
Nah, not because he's.
In July
It's because he does, like, he catches
the action
predators.
team commenced a multi-month sting operation in the town of Murphy, Texas, for a proposed 2-part special in the show's second season. Among those caught were a 54-year-old math teacher named Stanley Kendall, a 52-year-old oil drilling consultant named Randall Wolford, and a 56-year-old district attorney for Kaufman County, Texas, named Louis Conrad.
Oh, I know that
Aside from
name.
the surprising number of high-profile individuals all living a secret life, Conrad starkly stood out among the others. For years, he climbed the ranks of the Texas legal system, contributing to the prosecution of countless criminals. Because of this, he carried an extensive knowledge of Texas law, something that the police and production team knew they'd have to carefully navigate if they were successfully to convict this guy. For his entire career, Conrad was well-liked and respected, they thought. So why in the world is he doing this?
I don't know, bro. That's why I've been trying to ask myself. Like, why do predators do that weird shit when they literally can talk to anybody? Anybody of age. You know what I mean? I don't understand it.
As the months carried on, the conversations between Louis Conrad and No1093 would only become more depraved. Louis would share
Depraved?
explicit images,
Oh,
express a
yeah,
strong
okay.
desire to meet, and would consistently bring up subjects that a 13-year-old has no business talking about online. But throughout all of this, Little did he know that No 1093 wasn't who he said he was. The entire persona was a setup, and the predator, Louis Conrad, had fallen straight into his trap.
Okay, good, bro.
According to
Catch
Texas
the
law,
predators.
engaging in explicit conversation with a minor is a third-degree felony, a crime that Louis Conrad had, without a doubt, heavily partook in.
Damn.
Because of this, on November 5th, 2006, Tarrant County PD had obtained a search warrant and set out to his home
Here, I'm
to
gonna go over
finally arrest him.
Or like Jay. Let me see.
When they arrived, the police had hoped that Conrad would recognize them
Go over
and
here.
come out to talk. However, his behavior wasn't so straightforward.
What happened?
Through his window, they could see a TV playing and a computer running, yet Louis was nowhere to be seen. And so, they break in, clear out room after room, yet once they make it to his main hallway, they discover him standing eerily still,
Oh, fuck no.
seemingly awaiting them.
What the fuck? Stop. Oh, what the fuck?
Frozen in place, Louis begins pleading, explaining
Okay.
that he's not gonna hurt anyone.
All right.
However, before the
You gotta put
police
your
can
hands down.
react, he, out of nowhere, pulls out a handgun from behind his back, turns it on himself,
No. I
and
mean,
takes his own life.
shit, okay. He took the, nah, I ain't gonna even say it. I ain't gonna even say it. He took the easy way out.
As the camera crew stood outside, the sound of a loud crack had broken the stillness in the air.
Like a little
And for a brief moment, they were unaware of the scene awaiting them inside. No one expected Louis Conrad to do this. No one expected him to prey on an underage kid. No one expected any of this.
A man who has prosecuted criminals for more than 2 decades shot himself. We watched as an emergency medical team arrived and hoped they could somehow save him. But as Conrad is brought out on a stretcher, it's clear his condition is grave.
To this day, this incident is regarded as one of the darkest in To Catch a Predator's history. And because of litigation and their dwindling relationship with advertisers, the show was canceled the following year.
Yep.
While most aspects of this case, like the chat logs, the phone calls, and the aftermath are readily accessible online, there is one piece of media that has, to this day, never been released. Reportedly, there's an audio tape of Conrad's final words taken from police body cameras. However, for obvious reasons, it's remained sealed away.
Damn.
The Louis Conrad story is one of the most depraved situations that never should have happened.
What is depraved?
He was a man.
You keep saying depraved. What is depraved? Depraved. What is depraved? Morally corrupt, wicked, lacking virtue and good principles. Okay, yeah. Okay. So basically sick shit.
Who knew better. A man who should have done better. A man who preyed on the most vulnerable subset of humanity. While the
Subset.
recording of his final moments may never see the light of day, his vile actions will forever be known, and his name immortalized as a monster that once lived among us.
Come on. Okay, we got one more, I think. You really gonna say Among Us, bro? Really? Next, bro. I used to look up to you, man.
No matter how
God
you
dang.
travel, it's good to have.
Bro, come on. All right, let's go. Oh, shoot. Wait. Hold up. 6 minutes. Yo, 6 minutes. Oh, don't tell me you're gonna... Nah, don't tell me that shit, bro. Come on, bro. If you play that shit, I'm gonna fucking geek the fuck out. Please, no. Okay. Come on, this shit is real life.
It's the early 2000s, and Silent Hill 2 haunts the world. Circuit City runs a special on camcorders. And over on CBS Channel 11, a bear enthusiast named Timothy Treadwell appears on Letterman.
Okay.
By every measure, Timothy Treadwell is a lifelong wildlife admirer. For the past 11 years, he's gone out of his way to live with bears native to Katmai National Park.
Oh,
in
damn.
Alaska,
I think we all
documenting his
know where this is gonna
experiences
go.
wherever he can. Anytime this man was out in the wild, he had a camera on him and seemed to carry a remarkable lack of fear as he interacted with animals that could quite literally end his life at any moment. Throughout the 1990s, Treadwell was known to travel across the U.S., educating aspiring young adults on the intricacies of bears and their relationship with their natural environment. With this, he would share videos of his excursions, catalyzing an appreciation.
But that's cool though. That's cool. What he's doing is cool, but we already know where this is gonna go.
These efforts would cause Treadwell to skyrocket in popularity, and by the early 2000s, he had effectively become a household name. From what it seemed, Treadwell's way of life was inherently dangerous, yet entirely rewarding. A dance with the devil at every turn, yet it was something he was massively enamored by. He felt this sense of oneness, a connection to a species that humans, for as long as we've lived,
Feared them.
have inherently feared.
Type shit. Type stuff. Okay.
In October of 2003, Timothy Treadwell had convinced his girlfriend, Amy Huguenard, to venture out with him to Katmai National Park. Contrary to his other excursions, however, this one was markedly late in the year. You see, October's on the brink of hibernation season, a time in which bears are aggressively scavenging for food to get them through the winter. On top of this, there was a drought that plagued the area that year, drying up the food supply and causing an extra layer of aggression with the native wildlife. Effectively, the environment was incredibly tense. Competition ran high. Yet, even still, Timothy convinced Amy to trust him, as he was eager to continue his study of a species that he's carried a lifelong fascination with.
All right.
It's been noted that Amy never wanted to go on this trip. In fact, she feared bears. Painfully so.
Painfully? What in the world? Like she had a phobia type shit, like arachnophobia
It's the
type
next
shit?
day, and the forest is quiet.
Hold on, you know I'm just gonna mind
An
like
air
this,
taxi
fuck it.
pilot named Willie Fulton lands his plane near the couple's campsite to pick them up for their trip back home. Upon jumping out and looking around, however, Fulton quickly realizes that something isn't right. Timothy and Amy are nowhere to be seen, and all that greets him is a torn-up campsite and a bear. A very disgruntled bear. Confused by what he's witnessing and fearing for his safety, Fulton jumps back into his aircraft and calls in a report to the area's park rangers. And once they arrive, they shoot the bear dead, scour the surrounding area, and shockingly, uncover a scene completely unexpected.
What?
Throughout their campsite, the mutilated, half-eaten
Blood?
remains of Timothy and Amy are scattered across the ground.
Holy fuck,
Their
man.
bodies have been violently torn apart.
Wow.
Timothy's head and arms are littered around the camp. And
Mm-mm.
Amy is haphazardly buried in a pile of dirt next to their tent.
Whoa,
That
that's
night,
kind of weird.
Timothy Treadwell and Amy Huguenard lost their lives at the hand of a wild bear. And in the 85-year history of Katmai National Park, the two of them were the first to ever die this way. While investigating the campsite, the park rangers, surprisingly, came across a camera that recorded the attack.
What the hell?
The lens cap was left on, leaving just 6 minutes of audio at the very end of their tape, depicting their final moments. To this day, this audio has never been released.
Dude, that
However,
must be fucking
fragments
horrifying.
From those who had heard it firsthand paint a picture straight out of a nightmare.
But just screaming and like, oh God, help me.
It supposedly went something like this.
No, hell no. Oh, fuck no.
The tape begins with the sound of Timothy outside of their tent during a storm. A bear has wandered into their camp. However, before he can react, he's violently attacked. In immense distress, he begins to scream, pleading for Amy to come to his aid. And so she unzips the tent, heads outside, and commands for Timothy to play dead. A few moments later, in believing Timothy to be deceased, the bear retreats into the dark, to which Amy, in complete shock, rushes to Timothy's aid. Understandably, she's screaming and crying. Her boyfriend,
Alright,
a
chill
man
out.
who spent his entire life devoted to nature, has just been brutally attacked by the very thing he loved. But as it sinks in, the bear out of nowhere returns to Timothy, grabs his body, and drags him into the dark.
Hell no, bro. That's why I'm scared to fucking go camping and shit, bro. Like, and not to mention fucking Bigfoot and the Wendigos too. I'm like, nah, man.
Since this incident, the one and only copy of this tape has been left in the possession of Treadwell's longtime friend, Jewel Palovac, who to this day has never listened to it. And aside
Okay,
from
that's
the
good.
authorities, the only other person who's known to have heard it is documentarian Werner Herzog. Just a few seconds in, however, he pulled his headphones off, instructed Jewel never to listen to it, and strongly urged her to destroy it. As far as it's known, Jewel Palovac remains in possession of this fabled tape, and has vowed to both keep it sealed away and to never listen to it in her lifetime. With this, the final moments of Treadwell and Huguenard's lives are shrouded in a cloud of uncertainty, leaving the world around them to eternally speculate about it. This tape, much like with Christine Chabak, is one of the darkest, most haunting cases of lost media that I truly believe we will never get our hands on. It's a tragedy that never should have happened. A freak incident deep in the woods.
All right.
6 minutes of audio depicting one of the most gruesome ways to die.
Right.
That we may never hear.
Which is a good thing.
In our lifetime.
Okay. Fuck that. Okay, that was it. Damn, bro. That shit was crazy, bro. Hell no, man. That's why I don't fucking like camping, bro. And oh fuck, hell no, bro. Just like the eeriness of it is just cooked.
Listen, because this is an ad about how.
Can you shut up, please, bro? All right, that was the end. You know what I'm saying? Peak Nexpo. That was the end. I'm gonna like this video too. All right, now we're gonna watch the dark side of Reddit, bro. But yeah, bro, hell no. Lost media scares the fuck out of me too, bro, because it's like there's so much fucking information out there, bro. Of like the world is gigantic. And it just makes me like, damn, bro. Like, what the fuck is? Like a lot of fucking fucked up shit is happening right now. All right, enough of that. Let's keep watching. Hello? There we go. Beware. Wait, what? Beware what? Aw, damn, I can't read. Chat, I'm cooked. Okay, now this I kind of low-key, I'm like more scared of. I ain't gonna hold you.
Reddit. The front page of the internet. One of the largest websites in existence today. while discussion about nearly everything you can think of is just a mere few clicks away, there exists a dark side, a realm full of some of the strangest, most perplexing, and haunting posts out there.
Yep, I'm not ready for that.
Threads that make it seem like something is wrong.
Okay, yeah, I'm not ready for that.
This is the dark side
Fuck.
of Reddit.
Wait, I face serious problem human rights in Thailand. Oh shit, talk about it. Let's talk about it. Oh hell no. No. I'm not picturing jack shit, idiot. I mean, I'm sorry, Nexpo. I'm not picturing nothing.
It's the dead of night.
And my ass,
throughout the air,
my ass is sleeping.
and silent. The peculiar, intimate comfort of late night TV echoes throughout your home.
My ass is
And
sleeping,
in a
bro.
funny way, it's serene.
And God is watching me, bro.
You get up to grab a drink.
No.
Yet as you walk to the kitchen,
No. Okay. Okay. All right, W. What is that? I'm not looking at shit. I'm not looking at shit, Nexpo. Bro, I'm literally have my hand over this shit.
blood-curdling, primal scream pierces the silence.
Okay. Then
Someone needs help.
all right, I'm just gonna be chilling right here, chat. If you don't mind, I'm gonna be chilling right here.
The
All right.
police didn't investigate, and it's been bothering me.
Well, stay bothered, idiot.
At around 8:30 to 8:45, I arrived home from a quick trip to town to grab a beer. As I got out of my car, I could hear something. I thought for a moment that I had left the TV on and was hearing it from outside. But as I walked to the front of my car and pressed the lock button on my remote, I realized that what I was hearing was screaming. I listened for a second, thinking it was someone screwing around. But then the woman's voice screamed, "No, stop. You're hurting me. You're killing me." And an adult male voice yelling something I couldn't make out. There was a dog barking from the
Hell
same
no,
direction,
man.
as well as a repeated thudding noise.
Thudding noise, like.
I immediately dialed 911 and told the police. They could even hear the screaming in the background. They said they'd send an officer to drive by, but an hour passed and none came. I watched for them on my security cameras. I pulled the footage from the only one that was set to record constantly. The camera on my back door only records when it detects a humanoid shape. So
Like
it caught me
motion?
making the phone call and a little of the screaming in the background. The backyard camera caught it all, but it's unintelligible due to the outdoor AC unit noise. I cleaned up the audio as best I could, but I need advice on how to proceed. I'm attaching a Dropbox link to the video.
No, hell
I
no.
also included the original in the second half of the video. If you watch it, the screaming was coming from directly where the cameras pointed, but more than 50 feet away, across a narrow field.
All right.
There's a small shack that has a couple cars, usually parked on the road, just on the other side of that field. It's bothering me a lot, since I'm 41 years old and I've never heard anything so disturbing in real life.
Okay, I don't want to hear it. Don't play it. Don't play
The
it.
following is the OP's video.
God dang it. Okay. Everything's gonna be okay, man. God has got me, bro. Chill out.
As you guys may know, early Nexpo was pretty big on, let's just say videos of screams that may have been mountain lions or foxes. Given how easily these can mimic the sound of a real human screaming, it's easy to mistake them for someone in distress. Here though, this case
Something
is
else.
very eerily different. The sound is muddled. The OP her discernible words. This clearly isn't an animal. Over the next few days, this post would gain considerable traction on the investigative subreddit RBI. Commenters chimed in with countless theories and methods to pursue this further. Yet the weird part is, the police seem to have no interest in solving this case at all. I talked to them,
which
and
is
they wrote down
weird.
what I said. I showed them the video, and they have copies of it. They said they'd do a welfare check. They also told me to drop it and not to trespass, or I would be cited. They said they'll handle everything, so I guess I'm just gonna have to watch the newspapers and see if anything.
Oh fuck no! I hear a witch, and that shit's scaring me. Stop. Stop
I've
it.
done my due diligence, and I really hope everything's all right. It's
hold up.
frustrating, hopeless, and annoying to hear, but it's clear that there was nothing further the OP could do.
Stop
They took his
laughing, you
statement,
witch.
They watched his video.
Chill out.
And all that was left was to hold out hope that maybe,
I'm leaving,
by the
bro.
grace of God, something would actually come out of this.
I'm leaving.
And so, back to his routine he goes, into the now uneasy serenity of his home. The TV echoing, the dark consuming. Everything is fine. Right?
Hell no. More screaming. 7 months later. More screaming. More cookness.
I posted last year about coming home and hearing a female voice screaming for her life. I posted a video with the audio of the scream and got plenty of comments. About 2 months later, the house that it was coming from had sheriff's cars all around it. I found out that an elderly man had committed suicide via gunshot, that his son was the only person home, and that he was the one who reported that his father had shot himself. Fast forward to last week, I was sitting at home watching YouTube when I heard gunshots. I live in the country and that's common, so I didn't think much of it. Turns out it was
In the country?
sound of that son murdering his mother. He's trying to claim self-defense, but he's being charged with murder. I live next door and my security cameras caught the audio of the murder. It also captures the vehicle the son made his getaway in. I've had detectives in and out gathering video footage for the past week. This is a family annihilator. They're now looking at him for murder of his father as well. The case has been reopened, and if they had recognized that my calls and reports were actually real, 2 lives could have been saved.
Damn, bro.
The OP saga, as we've seen, took place over the span of months. Yet who knows how long the victim's torment was going on inside. It's frustrating to read because the OP tried. They truly did. Unfortunately, though, the local PD did nothing when it was most pivotal to help. Nothing was done after screams emanated from their home. Nothing was done after the death of the father. It was a total familicide, and who knows what the mother went through
Familicide,
in the
wow.
months before her death. Alone, confined, and imprisoned with her son. As far as it's known, Tim Johnson II, the man responsible for all of this, remains in police custody, facing 15 years to life due to his crimes. While he's since admitted to murdering his own mother, he still maintains that his father had taken his own life. A claim that, given the circumstances, is a definite reach to believe. No matter how we look at it, though, no amount of justice can bring back the lives that he brutally stole from people who likely couldn't fight back. It's disgusting, and it leaves a terrible taste in my mouth because all of this could have been entirely prevented. But it wasn't.
Damn.
We'll return after these messages.
Don't scare me, bro. I swear, if you scare me, I'll smack the shit out of you.
Guys, before we continue, I'd like to tell you about tonight's video sponsor.
Sponsor?
Incognito.
Hey, man, somebody sponsor me, bro.
So, as we know,
Oh my god, bruh. What the heck? Stop playing ads, bro. You gotta pay me. No, I'm just kidding.
It's late at night. You check into your local Super 8 to wind down. Everything is calm.
W.
Chill. You order a pizza and flip on some late night TV.
Yo, should I order a pizza today, chat?
Yet as you press through the channels,
Yo, what? What? Passenger with green eyes. What the fuck is that? If this shit happen, I'm kicking the fucking door. I mean, I'm kicking the
a
TV.
station that shouldn't exist stares back at you.
I'm kicking the TV, bro.
It's a man's face buried in static, yet it's eerily still.
I'm kicking the TV.
Who is this, you ask?
I'm kicking the TV.
What in the world is happening?
I'm kicking the fucking TV, bro. I am, bro. I'm kicking the TV down.
11 p.m.
Okay, 11 p.m.
4th, 2022.
22. Oh, hell no. That shit's recent.
Hello, X. While talking with my friend, they sent me a video of their TV, zooming in on a face surrounded by static. They're residing in a Super 8 hotel with channels 1 through 68, yet they found an unnamed channel 73. The top right corner of the video says Plus TV, which appears to be a now defunct Finnish broadcasting service. There's no sound, and the TV manufacturer is Samsung. They found other channels with static and no sound, but no others have the face or Plus TV logo. Neither of us or the two people I told this have found anything online regarding this. Alongside this, they include a picture of the TV guide, which goes up to channel 68, and a recording of them flipping through stations before landing on the mysterious channel 73. Going by the guide, this
dude,
shouldn't
what
exist,
the fuck?
which ultimately left everyone wondering,
What the hell?
how the hell is this happening?
That's an actual fucking face too. And it looks like he's like dead or some shit. I don't, what the
Hi,
fuck?
friend of the OP here. If anyone actually has any idea what this could be, I'm curious to know.
Or
I'll
I
be
think
checking
it's
again
like
in the
chisel.
morning to see if the channel's still there. It's 12 a.m. right
There
now,
we go.
and it's the same thing. I have literally no clue what this could be. I've been looking around on Google for stuff, but nothing that looks like this, and I can't think of a reason for this to be here. That video is mad creepy. I'd turn the TV the fuck off and get the fuck out.
Oh shit, the dog's
Now
barking,
I'm
bro.
scared of some ring shit.
Hold up, chat. Actually, you know what? Yeah.
TV.
Fuck it.
Maybe someone's online TV thing got fucky with your TV. I don't know. As we can see, Anons were understandably fascinated and freaked out. Theory upon theory chimed in, yet everyone ultimately wanted to hear from this friend themselves. You can't just drop something like this into the online void and dip. We all need answers. This is the friend again, posting from phone right now. It's late as shit, so I know it's just a weird hallucination, but I swear I saw the shadow of a person sitting on the foot of the bed next to me.
Alright, man. Bro, if that shit happens, bro, you gotta get the fuck out of there, bro. Wake up, get your ass out of
I'll
there.
check the video again in the morning to see if anything's changed. But I'm leaving here tomorrow, so I won't be able to examine further. Though maybe that's a good thing. Also, yes, I did check again before sleeping, and it was the same still. As the night
Hell
carried
no,
on,
bro.
not much
Hell the
more
fuck
seemed to
no.
come from this. Theories about analog channels and placeholder screens began to roll in, with quite a few skeptics in the mix. For all anyone knew, this could have been
I'm
real,
sorry for my
or
fucking
perhaps
stupid
yet another
ass
mark
dogs,
that
bro.
would inevitably lead nowhere. Regardless, the OP went to bed.
Okay.
And did their best to put this out of their mind.
Yes, bro. It's just a sleep paralysis demon, bro. It's gonna be alright. God got you, bro. God got you, bro. Okay, morning, okay.
The face is still there.
Nah, what the fuck?
I got some more video and photos from different angles, but I can't post the rest until Friends Online, or if I'm back on PC, because I don't have the data to right now. I'll have to post more.
But that's the actual fucking face.
More specific info, though probably no real use. The Super 8 we were staying at is in Barrie, Ontario, in room 404. If anyone in the area is wanting to throw money away just to see if the channel's still there, feel free to. I'm leaving now.
Oh, hell no.
There's literally a station on the TV.
Okay.
Go to it.
Station on TV. Is it the face?
It's a toilet. It's a
What?
camera pointed at a toilet, and there's no sound. It hasn't moved in what? 30 minutes?
What
story
the
fascinates
heck?
me because this
A
isn't
toilet,
the
a
only case
face?
I know of, explaining weird ass shit popping up on motel room TVs. Just a few years ago, another case went viral after someone found a live feed of what appeared to be the inside of a restroom on a random channel. After reporting it to staff, though, it never showed up again. Police got nowhere. No answer ever came out of this. Now, let's just call a spade here. These two instances are remarkably easy to fake. All you have to do is take a few minutes to edit something together, hook your computer up to the HDMI port on the TV, and play it back as a video. In all honesty, it's very possible that these cases are hoaxes. However, if we assume that they aren't, then that leaves us with a couple possibilities on what could be going on here. Motel room TVs typically run on a closed system. They pull from a TV provider, whether it's Dish Network, DirecTV, what have you, and beam it to all of their room televisions through a central internal wiring system.
Okay.
Given the nature of this, it's possible that the motel system had registered channels that didn't actually exist or sync with their provider. And in this case, it seems like it may have been previously connected to the Plus TV service. Why it's frozen and why it specifically sat
like a
on an
face.
uncanny, indiscernible photograph of a man's face is unfortunately unknown. However, it's possible that someone could have been messing around here.
Oh wait, fuck. I shouldn't have done that. Hold on.
Hey OP, I think I know exactly what this is. So back in the day when analog TVs and shit were more common, there was a nefarious hobby for nerds called TV pirating, which is where you hijack an unused low-frequency channel from nearby and can broadcast whatever you want on it. I used to do it quite often in Topeka, both on TV and radio. Anyway, it's still common in some places, although harder to not get caught or be shut down automatically in a matter of seconds. So what TV pirates do now is run very low quality tests with static and a symbol in the center, usually at segment codes 45 and 85 degrees respectively, to broadcast a recog symbol and test if it works while also being an inside joke to other TV pirates who they may know online or in real life. I'll look around to see if I know any TV pirates in Buffalo who would broadcast this. Given this theory, it's entirely plausible that one of the hotel staff or someone in the area had secretly gotten access to the hotel's internal broadcast system, beaming this to every TV the night the Anon discovered it. For instance, there's a system called Hack TV in which you can find examples all over the internet of people testing this on analog sources, and at first glance, these fake broadcasts appear legit. Given the fact that hotel TVs still run through coaxial cables, this is entirely possible, if we're assuming that this isn't one big hoax. To be honest, I do find it interesting that the Anon was the only person in this big-ass hotel who saw it that night. You would think that calls would have been pouring in, other footage surfacing online, a bigger discussion taking root around this, but there wasn't. All we have is an X thread, an insanely interesting, eerie X thread, but that's it. Regardless if this is still going on or not, cases like this do freak me out.
Bro,
With
yeah.
Max Headroom, 96.7, the HBO incident, even tales like WKCR, there's something inherently creepy about a complete stranger reaching out to you through analog media. Perhaps people overlooked it. Perhaps no one even bothered to tune in
calm
past
down.
Channel 68. Or even, maybe people did call the front desk, and we never knew it. This story, in its entirety, is a complete mystery, and to this day leaves me curious
Wait,
on not
what?
only how exactly it happened, but who this face even is. So, if you recognize this man from anywhere, let me know. Because tonight,
Fuck
an
him.
entirely different internet oddity just might be taking root.
Fuck him. Chill out, chill out. Chill out, Gengi. Okay, so I guess that doesn't work. What? There's a boy I know. What are you talking about? Fuck.
What's the strangest, most baffling disappearance, murder, or other crime that you know of? Something that makes such little sense that you can't begin to wrap your head around it. January 9th, 2023. The murder of Christopher Morris. Boy found dead in a dishwasher on a military base in Texas.
Bro, look at how nasty this
The
shit
case
is.
itself
Hell no.
is obviously disturbing and depressing. But what's extra weird is that there's next to no information about this murder, seemingly anywhere online, until a couple years ago. Then posts started popping up, all of which had the same weird, bot-like comments from people claiming to know Christopher or be personally involved in the case. These comments are eerily uniform and seem to be written by the same person, if not by actual bots. Examples can be found in the comments section here. Obviously, it's not necessarily unusual for people to come forward on a post about someone they knew, but just read these comments and you'll see what I mean. Some people have gone so far as to suggest that the case is wholly fictional, like the Red Spider murders, which used to appear in true crime discussions until it was revealed that author Colin Wilson had invented the whole story. It's weird that there are, as far as I know, no other corroborating reports that the murder even happened outside of the aforementioned blog posts and weird comment threads.
So people are
Though others have noted that
people are really fucking faking murderers now, bro. What the hell, man? That shit is tough. What the fuck?
murders on military bases are notoriously shrouded in secrecy and covered up. In September of 2000, in the quiet town of Wichita Falls, Texas, a boy named Chris Morris was found naked, dead, and trapped inside of a Shepherd Air Force Base dishwasher.
What?
The culprit, to this day, has never been found. Yet the circumstances surrounding it, as we've seen, have given rise to another mystery entirely. Chris Morris, Christopher Morris dishwasher, Chris Morris death, dishwasher death, Chris Morris dishwasher death. Not a single archival search seems to bring up archives about this case at all. You would think that such an unconventional, disturbing death of a child would send shockwaves across the nation. However, much like the OP stated, this is far, far from the case. Nested within an October article of the Shepherd Senator, a local newspaper pertaining to the eponymous Air Force Base and surrounding town, one article seems to be all anyone's been able to find to confirm the veracity of this story. This bizarre, eerie death definitely happened, so why wasn't it brought up elsewhere? Why is this the only piece of information we can find?
Dude, that's
Where
crazy.
online is Christopher Morris? In the early 2000s, a Blogspot page was born. Created by a group of activists dedicated to sharing and addressing cases of domestic violence, their site, the Penile Code Avenger, shared studies and opened the door to a community of victims to have a voice about any past trauma they may have gone through. According to the website's creator of the same name, they claim, "I'm here to expose a fundamental problem that lies buried due to shame, retaliation, pain, and even death. Domestic violence, and to deal with the aftermath." For over a decade, they would share various articles about the topic. However, strangely, on the 17th of May 2005, they would change it up a bit, posting a thread about an oddly specific type of death. Taken from Newswise, the article dives into child deaths that have happened on military bases, giving data for a much higher than I expected rate of child mortality. There was no further insight given by Penile Code Avenger. No thoughts, nothing. Just an article cast out to the void for whoever's interested to take a look at. Now, That's all completely fine, and nothing about their website or any of this raises any cause for concern. In fact, this blog would never have been mentioned tonight if it weren't for the bizarre, uncanny phenomenon that would follow it.
What? Bro, what?
I lived in Wichita Falls, Texas for
So
a long
I'm
time
fucking
before
stumped.
returning to Oklahoma. Shepherd Air Force Base is in Wichita Falls. A few years ago, a young boy, I can't remember his exact
Like
age,
a phenomenon
47
on
years
this
old,
shit?
maybe, was found in the dishwasher of his family home, which was inside the base. He had been sexually assaulted, tortured, murdered. Then his
Dude,
body ran through
man.
a full cycle in the dishwasher.
What the
Officials speculated
fuck?
that the killer had done that to wash away evidence. After the initial report on the local news, nothing else was ever reported on it. Very hush-hush. I'm not sure why I'm leaving this comment, except that this entry reminded me of that. May God watch over the children.
Amen.
I'm also from Wichita Falls. I think that it was more than a few years ago. I had heard that no one was home, and he was a latchkey kid. When the father came home, he found him because the dishwasher racks had been taken out and placed in the middle of the floor. It was said that he was being harassed by older kids, and that all logs of people in and out of the base were questioned, but nothing ever happened. I seen a webpage put up by his aunt not too long ago, asking for any information. I think about this every week. I really wish this would have been solved. It probably would have been if it happened now, but at the time, they didn't have all that they do now. Okay, so people who knew him are looking for info. Interesting, but not that strange. Christopher was my best friend, and they say his dad did it, but I know him and he loved Christopher, and he wouldn't ever have done such a thing when Christopher died at 11. I was 11 also. He lived down the street from me, and we were inseparable. I'm now 15 years old, and I live in Oklahoma, and there's a website about Chris. And if you know, can you please give it to me? I would appreciate it, and I miss him every day. Hey y'all, I'm Christopher's cousin. My name is Brittany Schultz. I'm also looking for any and all updated information on the case. If anyone hears anything, contact me on Facebook or email me at brit306@yahoo.com. Christopher's murder has yet to be brought to justice. Thanks for your prayers. I'm Christopher's mother. I miss him each and every day. My name's Kelly, and I live a street away from Christopher. I'm Courtney Bolden.
Oh shit, okay, I thought I was like tripping or some shit.
They had no idea what pressure strong I was away that day. The laughter of kids playing all these was shattered by police sirens. I don't quite know what it is, but there's something about this that unnerves me.
How do I
this
do that?
Random blog, hidden away within the vast expanse of the internet, one that primarily centers on domestic violence and sexual assault, we have a random article about child deaths and a flood of bizarre comments, all bringing up Chris and claiming to know him personally. Comment after comment after comment all seem to carry the same sentiment. Random, specifically formatted emails. Stories from anons who never showed up again. Names that don't match up. This case seems to have no mention, aside from a handful of obituaries in one single archived newspaper. But here, what is going on here? Given that this phenomenon began in the mid-2000s, it mostly rules out the potential of this being the work of bots. So either this is his family, or someone impersonating them. Upon heading to a few of their profiles, we can see that they created their accounts shortly after the article was posted, going forth to share their comments, and never returning again. When it comes to Shelby, the supposed best friend, though, they link to a site of their very own, one titled RIP to Christopher.
How do I do this shit?
.com. Unfortunately, though, this lead is a dead end. No archives were made. No posts can be found. It's just sitting here, buried within the comments section of this random 2005 article. A big part of me wants to believe that his family is the one doing this. In a way, though, It's more depressing to ponder, because if this were them, then this seems like an act of desperation. A plea to get any eyes on this case when the news media had failed them. As we know, mentions of Chris, even today, are sparse. So imagine how you'd feel if you were faced with this dilemma in the Wild West days of the internet. I don't know, there's something about the emails though. They all carry a random name with an underscore in the middle. The name of the sister doesn't match up with her username. All of the details and structure of their writing just seems
What the
off.
fuck?
For all we know, this could have been a random person who latched on to this case. This very real case. Yet, given the nature and limitations of Blogspot, we'll unfortunately never know it. Christopher Morris died before his life could ever get started, and no one ever talked about it. Whispers of his name remain confined to the void of the internet archives, seemingly frozen in time. Given the unsolved nature of his death, we can only hope that the evidence, if any were ever kept, are given a second look, as it's highly plausible that his family, to this day, are desperately searching for answers.
Yeah, because
How
that
did
shit
this
is.
boy die?
That
Why
shit is
was this
weird.
never pursued? And most importantly, who in the world forced Christopher Morris
In there, like naked and like what the like people are fucking crazy.
Reddit. A hub full of nearly every topic you can think of. The internet's gathering ground, with a dark side that grows day by day. Tonight, you and I dove into 3 more eerie cases that I've recently uncovered. I hope you all enjoyed this, and if you have any submissions for this series, feel free to submit them to DTFAI submissions.
That was it. I mean, it was.
Thank you all so much for watching.
Okay. Shout out Nexpo, but next is Nick Crowley. That's who I was talking about. Nick Crowley. Bro, I'm fucking cooked, bro. This scary shit, man. This scary shit is gonna get to me. Oh, I don't think I've seen this actually.
Working structure fire.
Fuck you. I don't think I've seen this.
It's 9
Hold on,
a.m.
I'm just looking
on
up
May
something.
18th, 2024. Residents of Charlotte, North Carolina wake up to the smell and sight of black smoke.
North
billowing up into
Carolina?
the sky.
Wait, when? I'm cooked. Hold up. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry, chat. Okay, I'm so dumb. Okay, I'm cooked. Let me replay that again, chat, for the people in the back, and let's go. All right, pray for me.
Working structure fire. 7741 Liberty Road Drive.
It's 9 a.m. on May 18th, 2024. Residents of Charlotte, North Carolina wake up to the smell and sight of black
Wait.
smoke billowing up in...
Sorry, one more time. When is it?
Fifth alarm. Working structure fire.
I'm so sorry, I'm
7741
cooked.
Liberty Road Drive.
It's 9 a.m. on May 18th, 2024. Residents of Charlotte, North Carolina wake up to the smell and sight of black smoke billowing up into the sky. The source: a massive 7-story apartment complex home to 239 luxury units, or at least what should have been luxury units. At the time, the structure was still under construction, meaning that thankfully no residents were living there. But this in and of itself presented 2 major problems. The first was that, in its current state, the top 5 floors were primarily just the bones of the structure, made almost entirely of wooden insulation, making the building as a whole extremely flammable. Meaning that, although the fire had started out relatively small, it was quickly going to consume the entire complex if it wasn't put out quickly. Which brings us to the second and even more glaring problem. The building was actively under construction when the fire started, and that morning 17 construction workers had clocked in, all of whom were now in grave danger. And by the time the firefighters arrived on the scene, the situation was already dire. And so firefighters rushed in, finding a large group of the employees and leading them out to safety. Though when they made it outside, they made the horrifying realization that they had only found 15 of them. Somewhere within that labyrinth of burning wooden walls, 2 men were left behind, trapped and calling out to anyone who might hear them. And these pleas weren't just being made to those on the scene, as in the following minutes, one of the trapped men, 30-year-old DeMonte Sherrill, would take out his phone, open up Facebook, and go live, revealing the horrifying reality that both he and his friend had found
What
themselves
the
in.
heck?
Somebody send help. We're in South Park.
If you own a computer, here's how to get the most out of it. Watch this, watch this, watch this.
Oh hell no! What the fuck? Don't watch anything, bro.
Yo, I'm at South Park right now. At work, the building on fire, and I can't get out.
The stream showed DeMonte Sherrill and his friend Ruben Holmes somewhere deep within the Perspective apartment complex, and though the fire hadn't yet reached them, the smoke certainly had, blanketing them in a thick, impenetrable fog, not only making breathing extremely difficult, but also making it nearly impossible for rescuers to see them.
It's getting harder and harder for them to see us. We're gonna have to stand out here and ask them to see. The building on fire, I'm trapped inside, me and my man.
Damn.
This was likely one of the reasons why DeMonte chose to start this live stream, hopeful that it could show rescuers exactly where they were. But based on the footage, their positioning was far from ideal. They were on the second highest floor, floor 6, which had only one access point, a single stairway that was on the complete opposite side of the building. And based on their testimony in the footage, something had clearly blocked their path to that one remaining exit, meaning that the only other way out would be to jump. Though at 6 stories in the air, and falling into what would likely be the heart of the fire, this would have meant certain death. There was quite literally nowhere for them to go. Rescue was their only hope.
Yo, this building is on fire. I'm at work. Somebody send help. We're in South Park.
Seemingly realizing this, DeMonte began to grow more desperate, yelling out into the void of smoke, while Ruben can be seen in the background waving his phone flashlight.
Hey, yeah, bro. Low key, bro. That's a smart idea, bro. If you're trapped, like try to goddamn, that's cooked. But like, you know what I mean? Like since he's live streaming, he could tell people, yo, call them, and like, when people get when the police gets more calls, and they take it more seriously, like, you know what I'm saying, or like more urgently, like, you know what I'm saying, if that makes sense.
With both men doing anything they could to help rescuers find them.
Oh shit.
Before the stream abruptly ends.
What?
Rescuers were aware of the unfolding situation on the 6th story. They first tried to reach the men by using a massive crane with a basket attached, which can actually be seen in DeMonte's livestream. Though in it, you can see that it's also facing the complete wrong direction, as the smoke was just that impenetrable. However, at one point, it's believed that the crane operator did actually see these men, but the blaze was just too extreme, leading to the operator himself having to be rescued. This left only one real option for saving DeMonte and Ruben. They were going to have to go in after them. And so they climbed that stairway up to floor 6 and started their trek to the opposite end of the structure. Though before they could even make it halfway, the rescuers were relegated to a slow crawl, as the inferno around them raged more and more intensely, and the smoke grew thicker and thicker. Though that's when they began to hear screaming. Somewhere, lost in that maze, Ruben and DeMonte were yelling as loud as they could for help. This sound was a sign that they were getting close. Though just then, rescuers would be met with another sound.
What?
All companies working 7741 Liberty Road Drive, evacuate structure per command. All companies working 7741 Liberty Road Drive, evacuate structure.
Command all companies, this will be defensive at this time. We'll be ready for this side to collapse. Everybody get out of the collapse zone. Confirming you are coming out, but you're not out of the building. 10-4, we are on our way out.
with the order being made for all of them to evacuate, as by this point, the structure was engulfed in flames, and a collapse was imminent. The firefighters tried to call out to the two in one last attempt to guide them towards rescue, but they never came. In fact, at that point, the structure fell eerily silent. They would leave that structure without DeMonte or Ruben, and minutes later, the fire consumed the entire building, with the temperature inside reaching 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, before...
Oh, fuck.
It would eventually topple to the ground. And inside, DeMonte and Ruben would become the sole fatalities of this catastrophe.
No.
Yo, I'm at South Park right now. At work, the building on fire, and I can't get out. It's getting harder and harder for them to see us.
Knowing how this story ends would make this live stream difficult for anyone to watch. But what I find most upsetting about it is that the majority of those who initially watched this were his own friends and family that followed him on Facebook, with these viewers including his own mother. And a lot of them probably had no idea he even worked this job, as he had just been hired that week. His brother had also caught the stream as it was happening and actually rushed over to the scene where he pleaded with the firefighters to watch the footage. But despite doing the best they could, there was just too much working against them to save DeMonte and Ruben. Following an investigation into the fire, it was discovered that the crew was using an organic foam insulation, which was known to be extremely flammable and produce thick black smoke. And this became deadly when the machine used to spray that insulation caught fire, sending the whole building up in flames, where they had yet to install any sort of smoke detector or alarm system to alert the crew of a fire. Making matters worse, there had been a temporary set of stairs made right where the two men had been trapped, but that stairwell had just been removed in order to make way for the permanent set of stairs. Because of this and a myriad of other issues, the companies involved with this construction were forced to pay a fine of $50,000 and are currently being sued by the families of both victims.
Yeah.
But regardless of the outcome, nothing will ever make up for the loss of DeMonte Sherrill and Ruben Holmes.
Damn, bro, rest in peace. Bro, what the, stop scaring me like that.
Things were getting concerning. Johnny Cashman spoke to his family nearly every single day. But now, on the 6th day without receiving any
that's kind of scary right there.
They knew that something was wrong. Johnny lived in Lynchburg, Virginia, hundreds of miles away from his home in Maine, and so, being unable to check on him themselves, they called police in the area and requested a welfare check. Police entered Johnny's apartment on the 19th of April, 2022, and hours later, they would call his parents with the news that they had found their son dead on the floor. According to the officers, Johnny had experienced some sort of medical event that led to GI bleeding that ultimately claimed his life. But this made no sense to Johnny's family. He was only 38 years old and had just been given a clean bill of health after a full medical exam only 4 months prior.
Bro, what is gonna happen, bro? I'm curious, bro, because like this
shit. If there were any
shit.
signs of a struggle, or if there was any evidence that he may have taken his own life. But they were assured that there was no trauma, no drugs, and nothing suspicious found on the scene, and that, as shocking as it was, his cause of death was entirely natural, and had likely just been spurred on by drinking and tobacco use, with the only solace being that Johnny didn't suffer, as they stated that he had died instantly. Because of this, no autopsy was performed, as the case seemed as straightforward as it gets, and despite his family questioning if they should get their own autopsy, they were told by officers that it wouldn't be necessary. And so, Johnny's body was cremated and sent back to Maine, in what seemed to be the end of Johnny Cashman's story.
Ten days later.
10 days after
so these
Johnny's
are all
body was
fucking
discovered,
recent.
His ex-girlfriend and her mother made their way back to his apartment in order to retrieve some of her belongings. She knew that re-entering the space was going to be difficult, but ultimately there was no way she could have prepared for what was waiting for her inside. There was blood everywhere.
What?
It was pooled in the bathrooms, wiped on doors, spread all over the living space, and was even found on a chair and a banister. But the most horrifying part of it all was the walls. They were covered in splattered blood, which revealed long streaking handprints. It was something straight out of a horror movie, and although Johnny's cause of death was deemed natural, what they found in that apartment seemed anything but. Traumatized by what they were witnessing, the pair snapped multiple photos of the bloodshed and ran out of the unit, directly into Johnny's neighbor, This neighbor revealed that they believed something far worse than a medical emergency had happened to Johnny, as they had a security camera mounted to their door which faced Johnny's unit, and on the day of his passing, it captured something incredibly disturbing.
What the heck is that?
The footage shows Johnny making his way up the flight of stairs leading to his apartment at around 3:03 p.m.
What should I do right now?
Nothing seems out of the ordinary at all, though it is noteworthy that he was holding an empty glass, perhaps insinuating that he had been drinking. But this doesn't seem to impair his movements much at all, as he punches in the code and enters his home, just as he did every other day. But moments later, something happens inside that unit, and while it goes unseen, it doesn't go unheard.
What the fuck? What are you doing? Yo, what the fuck, dude?
What the hell?
What are you doing, man?
Fuck no.
The audio seems to depict a man yelling, asking repeatedly, "What are you doing?" and begging for something to stop. On top of this, you can also hear loud thuds and banging.
Yeah, I don't know what that's
Almost
about.
as if things were falling over inside, or there was some sort of physical altercation, before the unit then goes quiet just a few seconds later. It was unclear if this voice was Johnny's, or perhaps someone else who had been inside the unit, but regardless, one thing was apparent from this audio. There was someone else in that apartment, despite the fact that Johnny lived alone. And just 7 minutes later, this unseen person would emerge.
What the fuck?
This clearly wasn't Johnny, and after leaving the unit, the anonymous man nearly makes it out of the building before he seems to change his mind. Turning around and walking back up the stairs before fiddling with the door handle, touching it only with his sleeve, like he was wiping off his fingerprints. He then walks down the stairs and stops once again, where he seems to be in a state of shock over whatever had just transpired, before he composes himself and walks out of the building. But the footage wasn't quite finished yet.
Hell no. What the fuck?
Just 1 minute later, you can hear Johnny shouting for help from inside the apartment, to which moments after, he stops, and no further sound or activity would come from Johnny's unit until police arrived 5 days later. The footage and the scene at the apartment seemed to contradict what Johnny's family had been told about his death. The blood all over made it obvious that Johnny's death had not happened in an instant.
So why is the police lying?
Coupled by the presence of this unknown man who is clearly distraught and wiping off his fingerprints, as well as the sound of the apparent struggle inside, seemed to point towards something much more sinister than what was initially conveyed to the family. But even with this footage, police still believed that Johnny's death was due to a medical emergency, as they quickly changed their initial story, saying that the blood spread was due to uncontrollable vomiting, and that Johnny had in fact likely suffered, at least for a short while. But this medical emergency wasn't elaborated on, as they didn't truly know what caused it, as no autopsy was ever performed, nor could one ever be performed, as by this point, Johnny was already cremated, and cremated because of the officer's initial statements. So if Johnny had actually been murdered, which the footage does seem to suggest, there was now virtually no way to prove it. And what makes this even more frustrating is that law enforcement already had this footage. It was collected that very day, and they either didn't fully look through it or didn't think that this was overly suspicious. But everyone else surely did. And soon, this video began making the rounds online, leading to one glaring question being asked. Who is this man? As no one in Johnny's life recognized him. Well, it wouldn't be until May 11th that investigators would finally ID him as Stephen Church. And upon being questioned, he revealed that he had moved to Lynchburg for work, but the opportunity he had lined up fell through shortly after he arrived, leaving him with no money and without a place to stay, which is when he met Johnny, who offered to let him crash on his couch. He supposedly stayed with Johnny for 3 days, and described Johnny as an alcoholic who drank constantly, including on that fateful day. When Johnny arrived home, Stephen claims that he started drunkenly yelling at him about paying rent, which led to the two getting into a verbal altercation. But he insisted that this altercation never turned physical, and that he left immediately after, to which he quickly went back to Miss Prince because he was afraid that Johnny would try and have him arrested for squatting. And having already racked up 2 felonies in his life, Stephen was paranoid about going back to jail. But when Stephen was leaving, he did mention seeing Johnny hunched over the toilet as if he were going to vomit, but he claims to have left before this so-called medical emergency started. This is the gist of Stephen's account from that day, but the problem is, it doesn't really match up with what we're hearing in the video.
Yo, what the?
Yo, what the fuck, dude?
From the footage, we can hear everything going on in that unit, but at no point do we hear any sort of an argument, nor do we hear anything about rent, with the phrases lending themselves more to a physical struggle rather than a verbal one. In fact, the whole time it appears that we're only hearing one voice. But there is an exception.
What
to my knowledge, it's never been conclusively determined whose voice is who in the recording, and either scenario paints a far different picture of what may have happened inside that room. But regardless, this audio makes it clear that Stephen's story was fabricated at least to some degree, as he also fails to account for the loud banging in the background. And because of this, his version of events is generally rejected, with most people seeming to believe one of 2 main theories. The first is that, upon arriving home, Johnny and Stephen had gotten into a physical altercation, resulting in Johnny taking some sort of blow to his abdomen, which in turn triggered or exacerbated this medical emergency. GI bleeds are horrific, and can certainly cause the level of bleeding that
I don't
was
even
found
know
in
what
the
that is,
apartment.
bro, but I
And
don't
perhaps
want to
seeing
know.
all the blood coming from Johnny, Stephen started yelling at him, before deciding to run off, fearing that he would be charged for murder. This would explain Stephen's demeanor and actions after leaving the apartment, and why he may have fabricated his story, as he knew or knows that he was directly responsible for Johnny's death. And this blow to the abdomen could have easily been missed by investigators, as the injuries would have been primarily internal. The second theory is that upon arriving home, Johnny naturally experienced a medical emergency leading to this catastrophic GI bleed. Upon seeing this and perhaps being in a state of shock, Stephen yelled at him, demanding to know what was happening and telling him to stop, as perhaps he was moving around the apartment and tracking blood everywhere, which would explain the other voice saying, "I can't stop." I could see how this experience would make no sense to Stephen, and perhaps just having no idea what was happening, he left and tried to make it look like he was never there, as he was afraid of being blamed for whatever was happening to Johnny. And so
Damn.
he essentially left Johnny there to die, whether
What the
knowingly
heck?
or unknowingly. What bothers me about this theory is why 911 was never called, not only by Stephen, but by Johnny too, as his phone was found in the unit with blood on it, implying that he had it in his hand at some point, though it's possible that the massive blood loss just made him too disoriented. Both of these theories seem believable, or at least more so than the explanation that Stephen had given. However, in October of 2022, Johnny's case would officially be closed for good, with Stephen being cleared of any wrongdoing, as Johnny's death was labeled the same way that it always has been, a medical emergency that couldn't be further elaborated on, with the most relevant evidence being that Stephen's shoe prints were not found in the blood, but Johnny's were, implying that he had not been part of the struggle. But in my mind, this can be explained by both theories mentioned previously. Though regardless, without the possibility of an autopsy, this is likely where this case ends for good. But with this disturbing footage, I can't help but think that there was more to the story than we may ever know.
That you ever know? What? Alright, okay. TikTokers find a body. Oh, that's fucking every day.
It was around 7:30 a.m. on a warm July morning back in 2019. 17-year-olds Bethany Martin and a 16-year-old friend decide to walk to a gas station near their home in San Antonio, Texas. And as the two of them made their way down the road, their path brought them parallel to a drainage ditch, which was often filled with various trash and other discarded material. But on this day, something far more interesting caught their eye.
Oh yeah, that's what
It looked like
trying
a
to do.
man crouching down and leaned up against one of the concrete walls. But the closer they got, the more they realized how unusual his posture was. He looked
What?
completely unnatural, and he wasn't moving. And by the time they came face to face with him, the reality of the situation would hit them. They had just found a dead body. This discovery was enough to traumatize anyone, especially two teenagers, and upon calling the police and being sent on their way, Bethany and her friend would make the long walk back home contemplating what to do next, before they eventually landed on the idea of sharing their experience with the world. And so,
course.
as soon as they got in the door, they began to set up lights and their camera in order to film a TikTok.
What the heck?
The clip showed the two sitting on a couch, appearing to be in a state of shock, with the words, "Us remembering we found a dead body
Dude,
this
what
morning,"
the fuck is
plastered
wrong
on the
with
screen,
Gen Z, bro?
offering no other context aside
Just
from the
like what the?
description,
Why would
which
you
simply
make
read,
this shit? Oh
"I
fuck
wish
no!
we were kidding. All respect to the family."
Don't do that now.
Some offered sympathy for the girls, while others viewed their post as insensitive and exploitative.
Yeah,
But
it's
others
weird
weren't
as
even
shit.
convinced it was real, partially due to this glaring lack of context. But any doubt of this post's legitimacy would be quickly thwarted by a discovery made not even one full day later, as it was revealed that this recording hadn't actually been the only video that these two girls had made on that fateful day. On their walk to the gas station, the girls had stumbled across the body of 25-year-old Marcus Adams, with the young man having seemingly perished earlier that morning, with it being apparent that he had taken his own life. But upon finding Marcus, the girls weren't actually overwhelmed with sadness or even shock, as instead, their focus immediately went to something far different, as something on the man's body had caught their attention. His necklace.
Oh, I think I heard of this.
The girls really liked it.
They stole
In
it.
fact, the unnamed 16-year-old had said that it matched her fashion perfectly. And so, before police arrived, the two would once again pull out their phone and start recording, showing Bethany approaching the body with her intention being to grab his necklace, which she eventually does, removing the medallion and giving it to her friend, before tossing the chain into the
What?
grass nearby,
What?
leading to the girls running away from the scene. The 16-year-old would then post that video onto her Snapchat story, for all of her close friends to see. I can't show the footage for obvious reasons, but it's truly awful. And just based on the audio alone, you can tell that they're very obviously having fun doing this.
You gotta do it now. Now or never. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god.
I got it. I got it. Yep, yep. You going to jail? You going to jail? Running away.
There's something so uniquely disturbing about it. It's clear that upon finding the body, there was no real emotional impact on them, at least none that outweighed their desire to steal from it. And as if stealing from this man who had just taken his own life, and posting it for all their friends to see as if it were a joke, wasn't horrible enough, they then immediately posted this other video to TikTok in an attempt to garner sympathy. It's truly awful, and made even more appalling by reports that claim that the 16-year-old had actually worn this medallion in the TikTok video, and in others made following its posting.
That's crazy.
And unfortunately, their actions had even more upsetting consequences, as the footage from their Snapchat story was quickly downloaded by someone they knew and posted onto an app called Nextdoor, with the footage being totally uncensored. And it was on this app where it's claimed that many of Marcus Adams' own family members would see the footage, many of whom weren't even aware that he was deceased. Just one day after posting this TikTok, both girls were questioned by the police after the incident and the footage was reported to them. And as a result, Bethany would be charged with theft of a human corpse, but would ultimately avoid any serious jail time. Meanwhile, the 16-year-old's name and charges were never publicly released, but we do know that the medallion was returned to the family. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Bethany would later come back to her TikTok page shortly after her arrest and share her side of the story, where she gave a less than half-hearted apology, while also claiming to be the victim, saying that her friend had pressured her to steal from Marcus, as well as pressured her into making that TikTok in the first place, because she thought it would be a hit. Though obviously this didn't go over well.
Okay. Oh my fuck, man.
On December 20th, 1984,
Stop that shit.
12-year-old Janelle Matthews disappeared from her home in Greeley, Colorado in the evening hours.
Alright. Oh my god, bro. Oh my god, I'm scared.
Earlier that
I
day,
hate.
she had
Oh
sung at
my
a Christmas
fuck.
concert with her school's
Okay.
choir, which
W.
her parents were unable to attend, as her mother was out of town and her father had gone to her sister's basketball game.
Okay, but let me
nearby,
just speak on that
leading
shit.
to Janelle
Okay, on that TikTok shit, bro, you just fucking you self-snitched and like you did some wrong shit. Like, I don't know, it's just weird, bro. It's just people want clout and it's just dumb. It's just dumb. Like, why would you do that? And then why would you record yourself doing that? Like, what the fuck? And then why would you make a TikTok of that? Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just so confused on like why would you do that shit? But yeah, that's oh my god. Nah, bro, I'm by the end of this shit, bro, I'm gonna have schizophrenia, bro. All right, let's keep going.
catching a ride home with a friend, being dropped off at her house sometime around 8:15, where she excitedly spoke to her father on the phone, letting him know that she had arrived home safe and sound. Approximately 1 hour later, her father, Jim Matthews, pulled into the driveway to find the garage door wide open and the house completely empty. Janelle was gone, leaving behind her winter coat and even her shoes, despite it being a frigid, snowy night. And it was within that snow that was quickly piling up that lie one of the only real clues left behind at the scene. Footprints leading directly to one of the home's windows, insinuating that someone had been watching Janelle.
Oh
Janelle
no.
Matthews disappeared from her Greeley home one month ago today. It's believed she's the victim of a kidnapping. She has not been seen or heard from since December 20th.
Her disappearance became a big news story almost immediately, with the whole community and really the whole country becoming invested in the fate of this girl, thanks in large part to her being one of the very first milk carton kids, meaning that her face and information about her disappearance
that is
was shown on
crazy.
countless milk cartons all across the country to get the word out.
Milk carton
and as a
kids.
result, this case became huge in the mainstream media, as even politicians began to make note of Janelle's story, with then-President Ronald Reagan mentioning the girl in one of his speeches.
I learned about Jonelle Matthews of Greeley, Colorado, 5 days before Christmas. Jonelle disappeared from her home.
Though even with this publicity, this didn't necessarily guarantee results, and soon months would turn to years, and eventually to decades. And all the while, Janelle's whereabouts remained a complete mystery. Eventually, the rise of the internet would start to play a key role in this case, where even in the late 2010s, over 3 decades after she had vanished, her case was still being shared and still being discussed, just as it had been 3 decades prior, with it still being a point of contention for politicians, even as recently as 2019. When a man running for governor of Idaho mentioned her disappearance in a Facebook post, 35 full years later. Regardless of Janelle's whereabouts, her case was still very much alive, as the world, and especially Janelle's parents, were haunted by the question, what happened to Janelle Matthews? But sure enough, in late 2019, they would finally get their answer.
Bones found in Weld County earlier this week appeared to bring an end to a 3-decade-long search for a missing 12-year-old girl. The Greeley Tribune is reporting they are those of Jonelle Matthews.
On Tuesday, July 23, 2019, at roughly 4:50 p.m., a crew had been digging in an isolated field in Weld County, Colorado, in order to install a new pipeline, when they would uncover the decayed remains of a little girl. It was Janelle, still wearing those clothes that she had worn to her recital, meaning she had likely died the very day she disappeared, having been killed by a single gunshot wound to the head.
Oh my god.
Janelle Matthews had been murdered in cold blood, and almost immediately upon finding her body, the police would also zero in on their suspect. The man's name was Stephen Pankey, and at the time of Janelle's disappearance, he had been living in the same general area in Colorado. But by 2019, Stephen had long since fled the area, as after the crime, he would eventually pack up seemingly out of the blue and move to Idaho, where when Janelle's body was discovered, he just so happened to be running for governor. And during his campaign, Pankey had put out a bizarre Facebook post about Janelle.
Go like, we're gonna
calling
find
for the
Janelle.
Colorado DA to oversee a fresh investigation, as he stated that the local police had wrongly been focused on the theory that Janelle's disappearance was a child abduction and murder, which was quite convenient, as just a few months after posting this, he would be arrested for the abduction and murder of Janelle Matthews. Police believe that Janelle had first caught Stephen's eye when he was working as a janitor at the church she attended, with this leading to him stalking her and eventually abducting her on that fateful night.
Fucking
where he threw
weirdo.
Janelle in his car and ultimately ended her life, for no reason other than his sick satisfaction. He then proceeded to bury her in a field 20 miles away, in a spot that he was certain no one would ever find her. Now, the evidence supporting this is mainly circumstantial, but it is incredibly concerning. Just one day after Janelle's abduction, Pankey decided to take his wife to California in order to celebrate the holidays with his parents, with this trip being completely unplanned, as his wife was only told of it literally the day of. And making things stranger, when they returned home, Stephen's car conveniently caught fire and was burned to a crisp, to which he offered no explanation for. But in response, he would take the car to a local scrapyard where it would be even further destroyed, taking any potential evidence along with it. But while this is all strange enough, police say that the main indicator that Stephen was their man was his clear obsession with Janelle's case. Shortly after the slaying, Stephen began listening and watching any news reports he could on Janelle's case, while also having his wife read every single article about the missing girl out loud, to which he would often have her repeat them over and over again.
What the
But his
fuck?
obsession didn't stop there, as he would then start frequently calling the police, wanting to talk to them about the case, even going as far as to give them potential leads, as he claimed to be fearful that he was going to be blamed for the crime, despite having seemingly never even met her. And it was during some of these many unusual phone calls that he was said to have given details on her disappearance that were never actually made public. His obsession was entirely uncanny, bringing up her disappearance at random even decades later, with his Facebook post being a perfect example. And as it turns out, one of Stephen's most incriminating statements came as a result of something he mentioned in that infamous message. In it, Stephen says that his son Carl had been murdered in 2008, which is in fact true, as the murder was actually fully solved, with it being confirmed that Stephen had nothing to do with it. But when he was mourning the loss of Carl, something unusual happened. His now ex-wife recalled that following Carl's death, Pankey never once cried, until the day before his memorial service, where she watched him from a distance walk up to their son's urn and begin to sob, eventually blurting out, "I hope God didn't allow this to happen because of Janelle Matthews."
What the
Despite
fuck?
maintaining his innocence to this day, Pankey was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 2040, his conviction coming
2040, dude.
4 days after Janelle Matthews' disappearance, with Pankey's cryptic Facebook post serving as a dark relic of his twisted obsession that would eventually expose him as Janelle's killer.
Okay. I'm just waiting until some shit. Okay, that was the end.
I want to give a massive shout out to my
I want to give a massive shout out to you, bro. I just want to say thank you, bro. Like, oh my god. Oh my fucking god, bro. Bro, I'm about to die. Oh my god. Right now I'm trying to build like a Steam engine, but I fucking suck at this shit. Like I have to be like, what the fuck? I have to be like a fucking one. I have to have like a 100 IQ or some shit. Sorry, I'm fucking geeking, but yeah, that was. I think that's gonna be then the live stream chat. Shout out to Nick Crowley, bro. Hold on, give me 1 second, bro. I'm gonna subscribe to you, bro. But oh wait, let me see if I have, bro. Don't fucking scare me. Okay, bro, this shit was yesterday. YouTube's darkest videos. Okay.
To due dates, and it made me go from weeks behind to weeks ahead of my deadlines. You see, I used to just.
All right, I'm gonna look into this, but like, give me 1 second. I just need to see like a guide or like a YouTube guide or some shit. Hold on, let me see. Give me 1 second, chat. I know I'm cooked. Cause I literally just saw. Okay, let me see what this is. Okay. All right. They're like a YouTube. Okay. All right. I'm good now. Let's keep going, chat. I'm gonna like this video, and I'm gonna do that. There we go. Okay.
It was 2:46 p.m. when the ground began to shake.
Knock it off.
Bro, what the
For
hell?
residents of Anagawa, Japan, earthquakes were nothing new, but this one was different. It carried with it a violence that none of the locals had ever felt before, and by the time the shaking had stopped, everyone in the city seemed to be left in a momentary state of shock. This was especially true for the nearly 160 Chinese workers and students that had recently moved to the area, with most having never experienced any earthquake, let alone one of this magnitude. Of these workers were a tight-knit group of 20 women who had recently been hired as trainees at a company called Sato Susan, a company that sold fresh seafood. And having been at work at the time of the quake, they frantically ran out of the building and stood in the street desperately trying to figure out what to do next, unaware of the fact that the real horrors were still yet to come. In Japan, it's not just the earthquakes you have to worry about,
It's like
but
the
the
building?
tsunamis that often follow. And usually, the bigger the earthquake, the bigger the wave. And given that Anagawa was right on the sea and Sato Susan was directly on the shoreline, these women were now standing directly in the path of an impending disaster. Thankfully, their boss, Mitsudo Sato, was well aware of what was to come, and quickly he yelled to the women to seek higher ground. But given their unfamiliarity with the area, Sato knew that he would have to be the one to lead them there. The group readily listened, and they quickly followed Sato as he led them up a set of stairs on a nearby hill, where they eventually reached a shrine that overlooked Anagawa and the sea. It was the highest point in the area, and should keep them safe from what would likely be a massive influx of water. And sure enough, as they neared the top, Sato's fears were already coming true. As the sea had drastically retreated, it was now beginning to push forward, and things were only going to get worse from here. But despite understanding this, it wasn't a deterrent for Sato, as once he deemed the altitude safe enough for this group of women, he then turned around and began to walk back down the hill towards the slowly flooding city. The girls yelled at him asking where he was going, which is when he revealed that down below in his home in Anagawa were his wife and his daughter, who were now directly in the path of this unfolding disaster.
Damn.
And he was going to save them. The girl screamed out to him, begging him not to go, as things had already become incredibly dangerous, but he didn't so much as turn his head as he stepped down onto the street and disappeared from their view.
Shit, I would do the
And it
same,
was at
bro.
this
My
time
wife and
that
kid,
one
bro.
of those girls standing high atop the hill began to record.
All right. Don't scare me, please don't scare me.
All my life, family has been super important to me. I love my family, but I also
Hey, I love
realized
my family
don't
too,
know
man.
much about them,
I'm
at
glad
least
we
outside
love
of
our
my
family.
family members, and specifically my grandfather, who I never got to
My
scan the
grandfather.
QR code.
Hey, man, my grandfather, he's a. God, oh my God. Bro, all these ads, bro. W ads.
The footage shows that the shoreline was no more, as the water had inundated the entire area as it slowly crept its way deeper and deeper into the city streets. The women were understandably in a panic, trying to make sense
Hell
of this
no,
ordeal
bro.
that they were now given a front row seat to. And as they record, we can hear them desperately calling out for Sato, but at no point do we see him. We just know that he's down there, somewhere. And as the desperation in their pleas increases, so too does the fury of the water.
Damn. Bro, is that guy okay, man?
They could only watch as Anagawa as they knew it was completely eviscerated. And by this point, they realized that there was now essentially no hope for Sato. It was at this time that the women realized that despite already being at a considerable height, it still might not be enough, and so they ran even higher up the hill, desperately trying to get out of the path of this water.
I wonder what they're saying.
And as they did so, they noticed something down below.
No. Ain't no fucking way.
Standing on a rooftop in the middle of this massive tsunami was Mitsudo Sato. The building that he stood on was once a full 2 stories off the ground, but was now just a few inches above the surface of the water. The women again call out to him, this time even more frantically, but at this point, it was no use. And when the camera is taken off Sato for just a split second, we can hear just from the women's reaction the exact moment that he swept away. The recording stops shortly after and restarts minutes later, revealing that the streets where the women had been standing just moments before were now fully underwater.
Damn, look at that shit.
That once stood around them were now reduced to nothingness. In front of them was a sea of death. And had Mitsudo Sato not led them up that hill, then all of these women would have certainly been a part of it. The date was March 11th, 2011, a day where Japan had been hit by its most devastating earthquake ever, with it ringing in at a magnitude 9.0, which in turn caused the nation's worst ever tsunami, as that day, 19,759 people would lose their lives, with Mitsudo Sato being one of them. But against all odds, his wife and daughter were not part of that death toll, as it's been reported that they were later found alive and unharmed. The devastation that occurred that day is incomprehensible, and all the footage of this disaster could warrant a place in this video, especially the footage of Anagawa, as you can see what it looked like before, during, and after.
Holy fuck.
But what I found so interesting about this was all throughout this disaster were stories like Sato's, a man who risked his life to save 20 women that he hardly knew, and a man who gave his life trying to save his family, walking directly into the path of the worst natural disaster in modern Japanese history, all in an attempt to save the ones that he loved. And I honestly find it quite beautiful that afterwards, these women adamantly shared his story and made sure that the world forever remembered Mitsudo Sato as the hero that he was. And of those 160 Chinese migrants who worked in the area, it was later reported that not a single one of them perished, which speaks volumes about the people of Anagawa, who so readily put others' lives before their own.
Fire marshal is investigating a blaze in Georgetown. 2 people found dead inside the home, and so far it's not known how the fire started.
It was just past 5:30 a.m. on the 17th of February 2021 when residents of a small neighborhood in Georgetown, Ontario were awoken by the sound of sirens blaring. One man frantically grabbed his cell phone and rushed outside to record the unfolding scene, where he was met with a horrific sight.
Whoa.
His neighbor's home was fully engulfed in flames. It must have happened quickly, as by the time rescue workers even arrived on the scene, there was already little hope of saving the house, or any of its occupants. It would take hours before that blaze was finally quelled, revealing the charred devastation inside, as firefighters would find the remains of 56-year-old Christina Rirak and 59-year-old Andrew Rirak within the home's garage. The cause of this fire was initially unknown, but quickly the situation was deemed suspicious when experts determined that the fire had started as a result of some sort of explosion that had happened within the garage where the couple's bodies were found. This was later confirmed by security footage obtained from a neighbor who lived across the street, capturing the moments when it suddenly ignited around 5:27 a.m. There was clearly something off with this case, and things only became more sinister following the autopsies of Andrew and Christina, which revealed that they hadn't actually died in that fire, and instead, both of them had been stabbed to death,
Wow.
with Andrew also being badly beaten. This fire wasn't started to kill them, it was started to cover up their murder. And it did a good job of it too, as the scene was now left completely destroyed, with very little evidence being left behind. But there was something else investigators thought to check. That's security footage. The camera had been facing the garage where all of this carnage seemed to have happened, and so they thought maybe if they looked back far enough, it could at the very least show what had led up to this brutal attack. And so they rewound that footage, going back hours and hours, during all of which the garage had remained perfectly still, until they got all the way back to 6:42 of the day prior, February 16th.
Okay.
The film showed the moments that the couple had arrived home together inside of Christina's car, which Andrew had been driving that night, as he pulled uneventfully into the garage. This was the last time this couple was seen alive on camera, which on its own is disturbing enough. But as it turns out, there was something far more unsettling about this footage, as it revealed the fact that Christina and Andrew weren't alone.
What the heck is that? Yo.
The footage showed a tall figure, its features completely shrouded in darkness, almost as if it were a shadow, with this figure lying in wait out of sight on the side of the house, until right after Andrew pulls the car into the garage, when this person slips in behind them. It's impossible to say for sure if the couple noticed this person or not, but it appears that they likely didn't, as they both start to exit the vehicle, to which the figure then ducks down in an attempt to avoid detection. Until the garage door begins to slowly close. Either Christina or Andrew would make it out of that garage alive, as just seconds after this footage,
Infested
they
cobblestone.
both would be brutally murdered by this unidentified person. The footage is terrifying and speaks to that innate fear in most of us.
Yeah,
the
there's
fear of
somebody.
being followed, of being
Hell
watched,
no.
and attacked in the moments where we least expect
No.
it. It's paranoia-inducing, and made even more off-putting by the fact that this clearly seemed to be premeditated. Whoever this was knew their schedule and had been waiting for them to arrive home, in a place where they knew they wouldn't be seen. But by this point, their motivation was as unknown as their identity. Following the discovery of this footage, bits and pieces were released to the press in order to get the public's help in identifying this unknown assailant. It represented a rare instance of a killer being clearly caught on camera right before committing a crime, but that's also what made this case so frustrating, as despite the video capturing this person, none of their features were discernible at all. Unsurprisingly, the footage didn't bring in any relevant leads, but it at the very least showed investigators that whoever this person was knew the couple, due to its obvious premeditation. Though when looking into both Andrew and Christina, it was clear that neither of them really had any enemies in their life, with the exception of one. Harrison Brown was a 27-year-old employee at a company called Rogue Transportations, of which Christina happened to be the vice president of operations, and during his time there, Harrison was known to be abrasive and combative, with Christina often having to be the one to reprimand him, leading to Harrison resenting her. It isn't clear how police were tipped off about this strained working relationship, but they had somehow grown suspicious enough of Harrison to pay his home a visit, and what they found inside showed that this resentment he had towards Christina had actually morphed into a twisted obsession. Inside, police found satellite images of the Rear-X home, along with the software on the man's computer and cell phone that showed that on the 12th of February, he had secretly attached a tracking device to Christina's car, and he had been tracking her movements for days, which is precisely how he knew when she would be arriving home. And as if this revelation wasn't damning enough, they would also find a broken knife in his garage that contained trace amounts of Christina's blood. It was obvious what Harrison had done, and when confronted with this evidence, there was nothing more he could say other than the truth. So he admitted he had grown a hatred for Christina because of the way that she had treated him at work, and he decided that he needed to get his revenge. That's when he purchased this tracking device and began obsessing over her movements, studying them before finding the perfect time and place to strike. And on February 16th, he waited outside the Rear-X home and snuck into their garage before attacking and killing them both. After the assault, Harrison would leave the home, where he began to grow paranoid about being caught, and so he returned to the house the very next morning to start that fire, with the hopes being that the blaze would cover up his tracks.
What the
Though
hell,
thankfully,
dude?
this didn't work. And after pleading guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of arson, Harrison Brown would be sentenced to life in prison.
All 20, LMV, roll over TC. I've got an unresponsive female. I got a male in the car, refusing to get out.
It's the eve of Thanksgiving, 2015. Police officer Patrick Feaster sits in his cruiser parked alongside the road in the town of Paradise, California, waiting for his first action of this uncharacteristically quiet night. His car was facing the direction of a well-known local cantina, which patrons were known to drive away from under the influence. And sure enough, as the clock approached midnight, the calmness around Feaster would be shattered by the sight of a car speeding out of the restaurant's parking lot. The car went unseen by Feaster's dashcam, but not by Feaster himself, as he took off, doing his best to catch up with the car that was now speeding down the road, and within a few seconds, he does. As the car slowly comes into frame for the first time, inside that vehicle was 26-year-old Andrew Thomas and his ex-wife, 23-year-old Darian Aaron. Andrew had been drinking heavily that night and was well over the legal limit, with his driving showing as much as he failed to pull over once Feaster approached him, resulting in a police chase that would only end up lasting just a few seconds.
Why? Because they crashed or some shit? Oh, we get the footage too.
All 20, LMV, roll over TC.
Whoa.
Pearson, just east of Black Olive.
Copy, roll over TC, east of Black Olive.
As Andrew would drive his car directly into a median, causing the SUV to flip over violently before coming to a halt on its side. In that instant, Darian was ejected from the vehicle, being thrown straight through the windshield and landing onto the asphalt, where, despite still being alive, her injuries were likely unsurvivable. But Andrew, on the other hand, was still inside the vehicle, and he seemed to have been left relatively unharmed. As perhaps being boosted by adrenaline, he quickly tried to crawl his way out of the car in a desperate attempt to check on Darian, with Officer Feaster's dashcam capturing the entire ordeal. Though just as Andrew attempted to do so, we see Feaster step into the frame, where he suddenly draws his gun and, without saying a single word, fires 2 shots at Andrew, with one of the bullets appearing to strike him, causing his body to go limp as he falls back into the car.
I mean,
in a literal instant,
I would do that
so
too,
fast
low key, bro.
It's clear Feaster had most likely accidentally discharged his weapon, as there was no attempt at communication before the shot was fired, with Andrew clearly posing no risk to him, as both of his hands were being used to hoist himself up. From the footage, this all seems to be a horrible accident, and one that Feaster seemed to recognize right away, as he rushed up to the car, pointing his flashlight at the man that he had just shot, staring at him for over 10 seconds, trying to make sense of what he had just done, before he finally snaps out of it, and uses his radio to call for backup. Though this is when this already dark video starts to become much more disturbing.
I've got an unresponsive female. I got a male in the car, refusing to get out.
When Feaster makes this call, he never mentions the shooting, and instead he states that the driver was refusing to get out of the vehicle. This is then followed by Feaster walking away from the man and pointing his flashlight to the ground, almost as if he was looking for something.
Copy, give your cross on Black Olive.
Pearson.
Copy, Black Olive and Pearson.
With some theorizing that he was looking for his shell casings. Though right then, another officer arrives on the scene and begins to survey the wreckage.
Just her? No, there's a male in the car refusing to get out.
What? Refusing to get out?
Where, again, Feaster says that Andrew was refusing to get out of the car, making no mention of the fact that he had just shot him.
What the fuck?
It's clear at this point what Feaster was trying to do. He was trying to cover up his accident, but this suddenly became more difficult when Andrew started to speak.
Okay, they got one. He's refusing to get out. Get out of the car, sir. You're not shot, sir. Get out of the car.
What?
Andrew Thomas was still alive and had muttered to Feaster that he had been shot, but even to his face, Feaster denies it. Shortly after, Andrew then tries to tell the other cop what had happened.
Sir, I'm refusing to come out of the car, but the car is still on, and I don't want you to get hurt. Behind him? What do you mean you got shot? Yeah, I was right there. I saw it. Did you get shot at the cantina? Who shot you?
What the fuck?
But understandably, this other cop wasn't believing him, as surely Feaster would have said something at this point. And so, the minutes start to pass. And after 5 full minutes, Feaster continues processing the scene like nothing had happened, with the other officer being left to theorize that Andrew must have been seriously injured and was likely in a state of shock, which is why he was making all of these strange claims about being shot.
He may be hurt in there. Yeah, I know he is. He's in shock at the very least.
From here, the footage cuts, and we're only left with the audio from that same officer's body cam, as he attempts to get more information from Andrew.
Sir, I need you to talk to me so I know you're okay. Sir, take a look at me. Did you bump your head?
But by this point, he had gone completely silent. 10 minutes later, the footage then cuts back on, this time to another officer's body cam, which shows that an ambulance had now finally arrived on the scene, with medics first directing their attention to Darian, who was in the worst shape, as she would tragically be pronounced dead shortly after. But despite all of these first responders on the scene, none of them had any idea that the man inside that vehicle had just been shot, and shot by one of their colleagues. And in these moments, Andrew was slowly losing his life as each minute passed. It would take 11 full minutes before Feaster finally confessed.
Sir, you hold this scene, Manny, with me. We're going over to the cantina to find out if this guy...
Well, it was me.
Saying that he might have shot the man, but he wasn't sure. And immediately after saying this, the recording is stopped, and the footage comes to an end. Sure enough, in that moment, Officer Patrick Feaster had in fact shot Andrew Thomas, with a bullet striking him directly in the neck. And the reason why he wasn't getting out of his vehicle was because that gunshot had left him fully paralyzed from the neck down. His condition was awful, and made worse by the length of time that it took for him to receive proper treatment. And despite fighting for weeks, Andrew Thomas would lose his life less than 1 month later, due to that gunshot wound. Afterwards, Feaster admitted that he did fire his gun, but claimed that in the moment he wasn't actually sure if he had hit Andrew. But many found this hard to believe, as his gun clearly goes off while he's pointing it at Andrew, and he clearly gets a good view of him immediately after the fact. Not to mention the fact that Andrew literally told him over and over again that he was shot. But for many, by far the most incriminating moment was when Feaster appeared to be looking for his shell casings. And because of his actions, Officer Patrick Feaster would be found guilty of manslaughter and receive a prison sentence of 180 days.
What?
A decision that was heavily contested, but ultimately
180
upheld.
days.
And while no one is defending Andrew Thomas's decision to drink and drive that night, Feaster's use of deadly force and his blatant attempt at covering it up make this footage harrowing nonetheless.
For real, bro. I don't got no problem with giving back, man.
Oh my fuck.
I'm the only one out here with a show that's actually giving back, you feel me? And I got proof.
Bro, I don't know what to do, bro.
23-year-old Quamaine Wilson arrives at his local bank in Chicago, Illinois, to deposit $20,000 cash, which he planned on giving out to groups of his most adoring fans.
Man, about to go get this $1,000 out for the fans, man. Really, I'm gonna take out $20,000, man. Just to show people, you feel me? I'm on a whole different level with this.
To this point, Quamaine had carved out a respectable following on his YouTube channel, where he acted in a series called The Nick Story.
One more word out your mouth, and that's your ass. That's your life. I'm gonna take it myself and put it in my graveyard with the rest of them.
Along with posting music he made under the name Young QC. Based on his viewership alone, his success was apparent, and he wasn't shy about showing off the wealth that he claimed to have accrued as a result of it, posting photos and videos of himself flaunting large amounts of cash across his social media pages. But this video was by far his most boastful yet, as he would take that $20,000 and throw it into the air for all of his fans to fight over. With Quamaine clearly relishing in the opportunity to show off his riches, despite the fact that behind the scenes, things weren't quite as they seemed.
He was about to get robbed or something?
The truth was, Quamaine had actually earned very little from his channel despite its viewership, with this being on account of his videos containing copywritten music and the fact that he only had a dozen or so uploads.
Bro, what the
In
fuck?
fact, his social media flexing had started well before he even made his first video, as in reality, all of this money was coming straight from his mother, Yolanda Holmes. Having started a successful business in Chicago, Yolanda made a great living for herself and Quamain. And being her only son, Quamain was given just about anything he could have asked for. She would buy him designer clothes, jewelry, and even the Mustang seen in this video. But for Quamain, it never seemed to be enough. He wanted to achieve a life of fame and riches, and he used his mother's finances to sell the illusion that he already had.
Alright, I'm gonna do this shit
asking her
off.
again and again to purchase him things that could help him sell this dream. Until one day, it all came crashing down when Yolanda would tragically lose her life. Just like that, Quamain's entire
shit.
support system had fallen out beneath his feet, leaving him without his mother and without
Wait,
the
so you like
provider who was
you took
funding
her
his
money
entire
and shit
life.
and like,
But strangely,
or like
this
what?
didn't seem to stop his lavish online presence. In fact, his spending only seemed to increase after this, as this footage of him giving away money to fans actually took place after the death of his mother, which became extremely off-putting for law enforcement, as Yolanda hadn't simply passed away, and instead, she had been brutally murdered.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I thought.
Quamain had learned something shortly before Yolanda's passing, that not only were his mother's savings entirely willed to him, but she had also taken out 2 life insurance policies, in which he was the sole beneficiary. And despite Yolanda giving him anything that he could have asked for, it seemed that by this point, Quamain had simply grown tired of having to ask. And so, on September 2nd, 2012, he would offer his friend Eugene Spencer $3,500 to kill his own mother. Eugene accepted the
That's
offer,
cr-
and
bro,
that night
what
he
the
would travel to
fuck?
the apartment of Yolanda Holmes late at night, where he entered her room and shot her multiple times as she slept. At the time, her boyfriend had been sleeping next to her, and despite jumping up and doing his best to fight off the attacker, Eugene would eventually beat him unconscious before fleeing the scene. Eugene would call Quamain immediately after the attack to tell him that the job was done, but rather than feeling any sort of guilt, Quamain instead had no emotion, and he simply stated, "Make sure the bitch is dead." And so Eugene went back up to that unit, this time brandishing a knife, and repeatedly stabbed Yolanda until he was absolutely certain she was gone. And with that, Quamain Holmes was a rich man, and it only cost him the life of his own mother.
Nah, man, that's fucking sick.
For a moment, the crime had worked perfectly. The police were left with no concrete leads as to who might have killed Yolanda, and the public largely believed that it was her boyfriend, whom Eugene had knocked unconscious. But no one even thought to look at Quamain. And recognizing that he was in the clear, his behavior grew brazen almost immediately.
Quamain Wilson lost his mother to gun violence on November 14th.
My mother, she was a neighborhood woman. A guy entered her home, and murdered her, just to steal.
As he went on TV to talk about his mother's murder, where he peddled the theory to the public that this was some sort of botched robbery, all the while he showed no emotion. He wouldn't even wait a full week before depositing the money, as he took out $90,000 within just the first few days, and immediately began showing it off to his followers. And in this footage where he gave away that $20,000, throwing it into the air as if it meant nothing to him, every cent of that
It was
had
his
come
mom.
from the death of his own mother, a death
Dude,
in which
what
he
the
was
fuck?
entirely responsible for. It would take over a full year for Quamain and Eugene to be caught, with police largely being tipped off by his online antics. And in the end, Eugene was given a 100-year prison sentence, while Quamain received 99 years. With his legacy now permanently defined by his creation of one of YouTube's darkest videos.
Hold on, I think I know what to do. Oh, that was the end? Yo, don't scare me. Alright, since that's the end, bro, I'm just gonna end it, bro. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing the later half. I was trying to make a Steam engine, but like, how the fuck do I make a Steam engine? Like, this shit is kind of cooked. But, yeah, bro, all those stories were fucking, like, messed up, man. Like, that's crazy. But, right now I'm fucking scared, bro. Hope you guys have a good one, bro. That's gonna be the end of the stream. You guys enjoy, take care, don't do dumb stuff, you know what I'm saying, learn from other people's mistakes, love your fucking family, you know what I'm saying, take care of them and everything, bro. Don't do dumb shit. And yeah, you guys have a good one. Peace.